Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream. Stream number 55. Been doing this for over a year, give or take a few weeks where I didn't do one. How's everybody doing today? Let's see who's out in chat land. Let's see, we got Shady Grin. Sup, Beaches? Kind of tired? Cool, man. Get some rest. You can watch on replay. Hey, Retro. How you doing? Hey, old guy. Hope I can last the whole stream. Been a long day. Dude, I understand completely. I've had a rough week, and I figured out stream just to do something. You can always watch the replay. Remember, my Streamlabs you can donate to while I'm off the air, too. So if you're watching this replay and you're like, I really love this stream, I wish I could give him lots of money. Good news, you can. I will be checking the Streamlabs in between articles. So please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And then if you can donate to the Streamlabs, that's how I'm eating. Hey, Retro, how's it going, man? Got some meds for insomnia. Nice, dude. More than 90 minutes of sleep. What? I don't know how healthy that is for you. That's how Freddy Krueger gets you. Well, I'm glad to hear you got some sleep. Monkey's up and tweeting. Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't been on Twitter as much other than to look at porn stars. So, Asian porn stars. You know how to get my attention. Make some dinner. Cool. Hey, TOS, how's it going? Oh, a whole bunch of people just joined. Hey, Rotten Corpse. Hey, Viking. Please try to keep all chats within the velvet ropes. Of course. That's why I got my mods. Hey, Frosted, how's it going, man? Hope your stream went well. If you haven't seen Frosted Glass's show, The Corner, it is delightfully offensive. And that's how it should be. That's what the internet was made for. That and Star Trek and kittens. Hi, Evil One. Hey, BG. Hey, Lesser. Hey, Tyler. Hey, Eagle. Hey, Kevin. Morning. Hey, Captain Tripper. Captain Tripper. Jack Tripper. Do you live with a couple of chicks and your landlord thinks you're gay? You might be a little bit of a hero if you do. Hey, Brad. Hey, Nobody. Hey, Jim. Hey, Angela. The lurkers send their well wishes as well. Nice. Actually, he just liked my tweet, so I was just expecting more. Oh, yeah. I know he was messing with his computer. I didn't know what time he wanted to stream, and I got a bunch of stuff backed up, so I figured I'd just do this. Thanks for sharing, Brad. Appreciate it, man. Hey, Travis. Hey, tall person. Hi. Oh, thank you, Retro, for the generous donation. Thanks for the show, Jack. Give Jack money. Yes, I like money. It's how I eat. And since I just paid $75 for dog medicine, for a dog that's not mine, by the way, although he is very adorable. Hey, Simon. Sticking my head in to say hi, like, and share. Awesome. Thanks, tall person. Most offensive thing about The Corner is the stupidity of the articles. Well, yeah, it offends me that there's a lot of dumb people out there because I always run into them, and they always want to be my friend. I don't like that. Hey, Ryan. Thank you for playing too much information. No, I pooped before the stream. You're welcome. Don't challenge me to overshare. I will win that battle, I assure you. I only have maybe 100 actual people following me. Doesn't matter. All the shares help in the algorithm because if you share it on your social media, it bumps it up in the rankings for when people search something. So if somebody searches Neal Adams, it moves my search results up in the algorithm by you actually sharing it. And the fact that you have 100 people out there, hey, maybe one of them will come join the stream. You never know. So every share counts, and I greatly appreciate that because that's how you grow out here in YouTube land. All right, got some crazy articles for you. A lot's been going on lately in the last week or so, and I know these streams have been very irregular. I'm trying to get back into a routine, and that's really difficult because I'm still sorting out my brother's estate and having to help my folks and drive his wife around. It's very complicated what I've got going on. Plus, I'm still trying to make videos. Do have a bunch of stuff coming for the Patreon people. So if you're a patron, there will be more stuff coming. I should have a video up, a comic video up tonight or tomorrow. So technically it'll be the 30th. The latest Sunday. I just got to assemble it or finish it. I got all the pieces done. I just have to put it in the processing and finish it up and upload it. But I'm going to have a whole bunch of other stuff coming too in the near future. So be looking for that. Dealing with estate issues too. Oh, dude, it sucks. There's so much fucking paperwork and hoops you got to jump through, and everybody's got their own bullshit going on. And they want you to do it their stupid way, and it's always ass backwards and counterintuitive. It's ridiculous. Real estate especially is so fucking complicated. It should not be that way. But that's a rant for a different channel. You know, like the time you shared, you found the guy shot on the hood of your car. Yeah, that sucked ass, man. That was one of the first dead people I'd ever seen that wasn't a relative. And it was fucking horrible, especially as long as it took to get that scumbag off the hood of the car. I do overshare a little bit. I'm okay with it. Never ending. Oh, thanks, Assassin. Appreciate it. Neal Adams, Batman was the first comic book I remember reading. Yeah, Neal Adams was a fucking legend. Where is that article? Did I forget to bring up the Neal Adams article? All right, well, I'm going to have to rant a little bit longer while I pull up that article. Oh, nope, there it is. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. It's like one of the most important things that happened today. I forgot to bring the article up. Wow. Yep, it's been one of those days. Yeah, we're going to cover that first because this is huge news and a massive loss to the comic industry. Didn't sing Summer of '69. No, I don't typically sing on stream because I'm really bad at it. I'm a good singer in my own head and no one else's. And I sing mostly in the car and occasionally in the shower, but almost entirely in the car. That way, I only distract stupid chicks that think it's funny to look at me and laugh. And then I start singing at them and they get really creeped out and look away. And then I just keep doing it because every now and then they'll look to see if I'm still doing it. And I still am. Red lights are my wheelhouse. Hey, Best Remy. Doctor the Free Clinic said I overshare. Nice. Hey, Kyle. How's it going, man? Well, it's when you overshare your love too much. That's why it burns when you pee. Never know what might be relevant. Yeah, I tend to drift off because it's kind of hard to do these without somebody else on the stream because I have to fill airtime, especially if I accidentally close a tab or something, or I forgot to open one, and I have to fill that airtime so it's not just dead air and me breathing here, because that'd be weird. Like, you'd think it was either crappy ASMR or an Amberlynn Reed video, and nobody needs that. So see, I already lost a viewer because I did that. Doing good, building a Gundam model. Nice. Gundams look really cool, but I've never got into the show or anything. I just think the mechs and stuff look really neat. Yes, maintain eye contact to establish dominance and to show interest. I had to, when I was working special needs, we had this kid that, we had to teach kids how to do social skills and stuff. And we were talking about the importance of maintaining eye contact. And of course, they wildly misunderstand it. And they end up staring at you all creepily. So, one kid was like, yeah, I was at the park and I met this really pretty girl. He's 16. And I went up to talk to her and I maintained eye contact the whole time. I was like, did you say hi? No, I just walked at her. So you walked up to a woman staring at her. And he always wore a trench coat and he'd keep his hands in his pockets. And I was like, dude, I talked to my coworker afterward and I was like, he had to look like a psycho. And she's like, yeah, I'd run. I lost the sub. Hopefully it was a bot. My sub numbers have been really fluctuating. Mostly in the wrong direction. Every now and then one will come back. It'll go away for a few hours, then come back. But yeah, my numbers have been all over the place. Got my PS5 hooked up to a C2 LG OLD. Checking how the new variable refresh unlock games are so freaking smooth. Nice. That sounds awesome. I don't even actually own a TV anymore. Better than you thinking you pulled the dark side, Phil. Oh my God, yeah. If I saw that dude walking toward me in the woods, I'd run. I'm a big dude. Was there not a movie about a cowboy who pilots a giant robot called Tex-Mex? Dude, I don't know. They came close in, what was it, Robot Jocks? But no, that every good opportunity like that, blown. They have no idea what they're doing in Hollywood. Creatively bankrupt. Me and Frosted could do way better than anything coming out of Hollywood right now. Show's all right. Depends on which version of Gundam you're watching. That's what I've heard. I don't really watch a lot of cartoons. Just for gaming and stream services. Yeah, I bet. There's nothing wrong with being a large mammal. That's what I keep telling people. I'm not body positive, but I'm positive I have a body. Ron Cobb designed the robots and robot jocks. I don't know who that is. Sorry, man. I'm a little behind the times. All right, so Neal Adams, comic book artist who revitalized Batman and fought for creators' rights, dies at 80. Now, he was kind of a weird dude, not going to lie. Why did that pop up? But he was an incredibly talented man, and he did some of the greatest Batman stuff in the 70s and 80s. And even the later miniseries, I am a huge Neal Adams fan. Him and Joe Aparo, I think that's how that's pronounced, are two of my favorite Batman artists. Jim Aparo, I think, has one of the cleanest art styles next to John Byrne, but he was the Batman artist when I was a kid. And Neal Adams was one of those guys that I came along right after he was one of the big Batman artists. So every now and then I'd get some Neal Adams comics at a garage sale. And it was like finding Bernie Wrightson. You're like, wow, what is this? Unfortunately, I don't have most of those anymore because all my copies got beaten up or sold or stolen or whatever over the years. But I've still got some of his newer stuff floating around in some collected works, and they are amazing. Neal Adams, this is the Hollywood Reporter, of course. Neal Adams, legendary comic book artist who reinvigorated Batman and other superheroes with his photorealistic stylings and championed the rights of creators, has died. He was 80. Adams died Thursday in New York of complications from sepsis. His wife, Marilyn Adams, told the Hollywood Reporter. That's a horrible way to die. Adams jolted the world of comic books in the late 1960s and early 70s with his toned and sinewy take on heroes. First at DC with a character named Deadman, then at Marvel with the X-Men and the Avengers, and back at DC with his most lasting influence, Batman. During his Batman run, Adams writer Dennis O'Neil brought a revolutionary change to the hero and comics, delivering realism, kineticism, and a sense of menace to their storytelling in the wake of the campy Adam West starring 60s ABC Batman series, and years of the hero being aimed at kiddie readers. This is when DC Comics started to grow up. They were about 10 years behind everybody else, whereas up to that point, Batman was largely aimed at elementary school readers. They moved it up to high school. And they did it very abruptly, too, but the dynamics are very, very different. If you look at some of the campier Batman stories from the 60s and then look at the Neal Adams stuff, it's a crazy difference. Pete, how's it going, man? Yeah, it just turned Saturday. Hope your day's going well, man. Hey, Simon. Bruce Timm's your favorite Batman artist, Kyle? That's cool. Yeah, we still have Dan Slott. Yeah, that Porculus, I don't know how he's fucking around. Oh, Ron Cobb did Last Starfighter. Okay. Gunstar and car. Equipment for ships for Alien and Aliens. Oh, wow. Damn. Yeah, no wonder the robots look cool in Robot Jocks. Neal Adams' command of perspective was due to small thumbnails of pages within perspective points on opposite sides of the drafting table, then blowing it up to size and light boxing the pencils. Yeah, he was one of the few guys that ruined it for everybody by being a better artist than most people now. Now people cut corners. That's why small panels look like dog shit. People in the backgrounds look like crap because people don't put the time in because they're not paid very much, and most artists are too lazy to do what this guy did. That shark repellent's campy. No, I think that was probably the best part of that movie. That and the bomb. That shark repellent's a key item in the Batman's arsenal. That's true. That's true. You never know when you're going to need that. He created new villains for the Rogues Gallery, the Man-Bat and Ra's al Ghul, as well as the later's daughter, Talia, who became Batman's lover. The father and daughter, played by Liam Neeson and Marion Cotillard, were key characters of the trilogy of Batman movies directed by Christopher Nolan. Spoiler alert. Yeah, the fact that Man-Bat is absolutely one of my favorite characters from the Bat universe, because he's not necessarily a villain. He's somebody that is a very tragic character. Ra's al Ghul, they've kind of overplayed him a lot lately, but still a cool villain. This Batman run also revived some villains who had grown stale. None more so than the Joker, who became less comical and more homicidal maniac than modern readers and moviegoers know and love, truly taking his place as the Cape Crusader's arch nemesis. We took a harder edge. We decided that Joker was just a little crazy, Adams told Abraham Reisman for the 2019 Vulture article that made the case that without the classic story, 1973's The Joker's Five-Way Revenge and Batman number 251, comics such as The Killing Joke and portrayals by Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, and Joaquin Phoenix would not exist. That's probably true, actually. It's no secret that we were doing Batman right, Adams said during a panel at San Diego Comic-Con in 2010. It was as if the memory of DC Comics went along with the statements that both Denny and I were making, that we want it to be more realistic, more gritty, and that's how we remember, whether it's true or not, that Batman should be. And when we did it, everybody went, that's it. We don't need comedy anymore. Yeah, because their comedy was pretty lame. Very dated. Adams, also with O'Neill, came up with a then controversial turn for Green Lantern and Green Arrow that tackled social issues such as drug addiction, racism, and overpopulation, and introduced the Green Lantern hero John Stewart, who became one of DC's first black icons. Their 1971 two-part story, Snowbirds Don't Fly, remains an important milestone in comics' evolutions toward attracting more mature readers. Those stories, by today's standards, look a little over the top and silly. But for the time, those were very, very controversial. Especially this episode, or the storyline where Speedy was hooked on heroin. It was at this creative height in the mid-70s that Adams quit drawing for the Big Two, as Marvel and DC were known, and launched Continuity Studios, an artist studio that produced comics, commercial art, and storyboards, among other services. The comics division created indie characters such as Bucky O'Hare and Miss Mystic. Those books didn't come out until the 80s. Sorry, because Miss Mystic was over at Pacific first, and the first two issues, because it only lasted 2 issues, were then brought over to Continuity in the 80s. I actually have most of the Continuity books and will eventually review them, but I'm kind of far behind on everything. He also proved to be an influence on generations of artists, given many a boost or break in the industry. He acted as mentor to Bill Sienkiewicz, who would draw an influential run of Moon Knight and New Mutants, and Frank Miller, who would go on to reinvent Batman with The Dark Knight Returns. I would say gave us a way too dark a version of Batman, because the version these guys did in the 70s and 80s was more than sufficient for superhero storytelling. Dark Knight Returns was a deconstruction, and everybody's tried to mimic its sense, and there's only so much that you can do. I've made that rant many times, but, John Stewart, a black icon. Yeah, he was a very influential character, mostly because they did tackle some racism issues with him, which were kind of ham-fisted for the time. They were definitely more like SJW stories now, but better writing. Adams also worked tirelessly to promote better working conditions and radically, at the time, creators' rights, especially for their work. He early on recognized the value of creators and was a thorn in the side of publishers, demanding compensation for himself and others when their characters were adapted off the page. He, along with Stan Lee, formed the Academy of Comic Book Arts, hoping to start a union that would fight for benefits and ownership on behalf of writers and artists. Lee wanted an organization that was more akin to the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, and the two parted ways. Back then, it really wouldn't have worked. Now you can do that because it's way easier to self-publish, and finding somebody to publish your books or print them out physically or even do them digitally is vastly easier thanks to the internet. You can find a printer overseas like Ninja Print or Print Ninja, whatever the fuck it's called, or one of the dozen Canadian publishers or printers, and like even DC goes through a Canadian printer, or even one here in the States, and you can find those a lot easier than you could back then. And back then they were on cheaper paper, which was newsprint, which arguably was better than a lot of the paper being used now. But it's a lot easier to find that stuff now than it was then. So forming a union actually made a certain amount of sense, but that's just because the big two had better distribution than you'd be able to get as a solo group, because a lot of small publishers came and went over the decades. Even big ones like Fawcett was outselling DC for a while with Captain Marvel beating out Superman. And eventually there was lawsuits and drove them into the ground. Gold Key and Whitman were reasonably big publishers at the time, or Western, I should say. But even they fell by the wayside. So somebody trying to do their own thing ended up looking more like Amazing Comics or Pied Piper, and they just would fold up after very short periods of time. Atlas tried to be a competitor, and they did produce a lot of books, but even they folded within less than a year, if I remember correctly. I think that was Mark Guggenheim did that. In the late 70s, when a new federal work-for-hire law was being enshrined, Marvel and then editor-in-chief Jim Shooter distributed contracts that stated freelancers could not assert copyright over their creations. As detailed in Reisman's 2021 Lee biography, True Believer, Adams sent around a copy of the contract scrawled at the top, "Do not sign this contract. You'll be signing your life away." While it caused a ruckus and awareness, the effort didn't have its intended effect, as Marvel flexed its muscle and threatened anyone who tried to unionize with a drying up of the freelance well. And that, again, is the problem with having two big publishers. But when the indies aren't going anywhere, that's a creative dead end, effectively. You're kind of backed into a corner. The best thing you could do would just be to not make a bunch of new characters for them. Adams had more luck in trying on corporate overlords into other areas. He helped change the practice of comic book publishers, keeping the original art by artists or even shredding and tossing it, influencing companies to establish policies of returning the art, something that allowed artists to enjoy a second income stream. That's a huge deal, because that's how a lot of these creators made any money. They weren't making much doing comics. They did it because it was steady work and a steady paycheck. Selling the art became their income. Funny how I never cared about Jon Stewart's skin color. I liked him because he was a Marine. Yeah, Ginger, because most people don't care about skin color. They care about whether you're an interesting character. And cupcakes for the kids. Ooh, cupcakes sound good. The biggest case in point, Marvel returned pages of art to Jack Kirby, the co-creator of Fantastic Four, Thor, X-Men, and Hulk. He also proved to be a champion of two artists who laid the foundation for DC's Superman creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. When he learned of their plight, one inciting factor was hearing that they could not attend a Broadway musical featuring the Man of Steel. He led a lobbying effort that eventually led to greater recognition for the pair, a creator tag in comics and other media that continues to this day, plus a pension. Yeah, he rose a big stink about it and got publicity in the actual news media. And that was a pretty rough thing. He could have lost his entire career for that. Here he is in the 70s. That is a very salmon-looking shirt. That tie does not go with that. Adams was born in New York City in 1941 and attended the School of Industrial Art in Manhattan. He set his sights on comic books early, and while he kept getting rejected from DC in the late 50s, he did humor gags for Archie Comics. He also worked in commercial advertising, bringing comics art style to his efforts, which would later influence his DC and Marvel work and help him stand out. Adams also worked for several years in the 60s and on a daily comic strip featuring Ben Casey. By the end of the decade, he finally landed at DC, at first doing covers, then backup stories, then finally main stories. That's how you used to break in. It was usually backup stories, the occasional cover, then you, if you were good and you were on time and you showed you were capable, they'd move you up to the main book. They don't really do that anymore. Now they just seem to hire off Tumblr. When he was assigned Deadman in the title Strange Adventures, he had pretty much established his style. It was only a matter of time before the industry noticed. Deadman became a surprise hit and earned him an Alley Award for the new perspective and dynamic vibrance he brought to the medium. During the Batman heyday, when Adams was blowing readers' socks off on a monthly basis, he was also causing a stir at the DC offices with his art. In those days, if work came in early enough, it would sit in the flat files in production for maybe 3 or 4 weeks before anyone would actually pick it up and do lettering corrections. Then editor Paul Levitz recalled at the 2010 comic panel, the great books that would always come in, people would come and they would look at it, and then they would come in and deliver their art. They'd stop off in production saying, "Do you have Neal Adams' last job? Let's see what's in Deadman's drawer. Can you top this?" My father was a force, Josh Adams said. His career was defined by unparalleled artistic talent and unwavering character that drove him to constantly fight for his peers and those in need. He would become known in the comic industry as one of the most influential creators of all time and a champion of social and creators' rights. When he saw a problem, he wouldn't hesitate. What would become tales told and retold of the fights he fought were born out of my father simply seeing something wrong as he walked through the halls of Marvel or DC and deciding to do something about it right then and there. The artist also understood the value of fan support and was a fixture on the convention scene where he was lovable, cantankerous, and a repository of comic book history who loved being a raconteur. In addition to his wife of 45 years and Josh, survivors include 2 other sons, Jason and Joel, daughters Chris and Zia, and grandchildren Kelly, Courtney, Jade, Sebastian, Jane, and Jaylyn, and great-grandson Maximus. That's a badass name. His 3 sons and Zia all work as artists in the comic book or fantasy field. So massive loss to the industry and somebody who pioneered quite a bit of stuff that we know today. So rest in peace, Neal Adams. And I will drop the link for anyone that wants it. Yeah, there was a Broadway musical about Superman. They'll do a musical on anything, dude. That kid's going places, right? It is a sweet name. All right. So the rumors been going around about the Black Superman movie being canceled, but it looks like that may not be the case. Maximus will get his revenge. Oh, of course. Make a character named Riri Williams, used after slang for retard. Code named after a porn parody and stealing her tech and run away from the cops while black during her debut. Yep. Yeah, it was disgusting that they took like one of the worst stereotypes for black people that they steal and they embodied it in a 15-year-old girl who steals Tony Stark's technology, his armor, and then his entire life. And she's the best ever. Come on, that's a little teeny racist, don't you think? All right. So over at Bounding Into Comics, we find out alleged leaks, this rumor, that means it might not be true, revealed Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman project to use Superman's alien heritage as a parallel to racism. We'll also race swap Lois Lane. Shocker. Number of alleged leaks for the Ta-Nehisi Coates written in J.J. Abrams' produced Superman film claims movie will use Superman's alien heritage as a parallel to racism. That's all Ta-Nehisi Coates knows how to write about. That's it. He has no creativity beyond like writing flowery pseudo poetry about racism. That's his entire shtick. He's not that good of a writer. I'm sorry. These alleged leaks were recently shared on Twitter by GeoPanda24. Wow, there's a reliable source, who provided quite a bit of information about the film. First, the user noted, while the project was originally intended to be a period piece, The final draft submitted by Coates recently is not a period piece. Well, I'm glad it's more than about women in their time of the month. I'm sorry, uterus endowed people. Next, they revealed it's not about a black Superman being a victim of racism. Sure, it's not. Rather, it uses Superman's alien heritage as a parallel to racism. They are, however, going through with colorblind casting. Yeah, right. Moving to Superman's abilities and powers that describe him as being heavily nerfed, the user details Superman is heavily nerfed, being taken back to his Golden Age roots. He can no longer fly, but he can instead leap tall buildings in a single bound. He also lacks heat vision, frost breath, and X-ray vision. He's also described as moving at Mach 7. Next, the Twitter user revealed they plan to race swap Lois Lane and Perry White. The user tweeted, "They do have descriptions for the characters in the script, which gives away their races. Lois Lane is written with an Asian actress in mind, and Perry White is written as an African-American man, and Jimmy Olsen is described as a freckled redhead, no race bending with Jimmy." Yeah, so instead of doing the usual thing where they swap the redheads with black people, in this case, they're swapping everybody but the ginger. As for the film's main antagonist, they reveal it's the Ultra Humanite. The film is currently utilizing the Golden Age version of the Ultra Humanite as the main antagonist, although this may change. At no point in the story does he use the albino gorilla body. I suspect that's going to change. They're going to use the albino Ultra Humanite as a dog whistle for white supremacy. Ah! And he's probably going to have a tuft of orange hair at the top. So it's Ultra Humanite bad. Next, they detail the film is supposed to be awards bait rather than a traditional superhero film, with Superman supposed to be the champion of the oppressed. The script is rather long, clocking in at 165 pages. That's because Ta-Nehisi Coates is very verbose. This may be due to the fact that the film is being written as an awards contender rather than a regular superhero film. It portrays Superman as a champion of the oppressed. The government hates him, but the people love him. The user tweeted. Maybe he's a source of disinformation now. Finally, the leaker detailed the film is a love letter to Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's original comics. If you're race bending everyone, I call that into question. It also has a dedication to them. So, Podkent's characters based off Jerry Siegel. It actually has a dedication to a lot of writers such as Jack Kirby, who serves as inspiration for Dan Turpin. One thing that stands out to me is the fact that on one hand, the leaker claims they might not race swap Superman and are instead going through colorblind casting. They'll just accidentally cast a black person. However, 2 tweets later, they're claiming they are race swapping Lois Lane and Perry White. That doesn't really make any sense and appears to be a clear contradiction. If you're going with colorblind casting for Superman, why won't you do that with the other characters? Even then, colorblind casting shouldn't be discussed because the casting should match up with the character's source material. You would think so, but welcome to the modern world. The idea that Superman would not be race swapped also conflicts with reports from The Hollywood Reporter in May 2021 that claimed the film was looking for not only a black actor, but a black director. Yeah, watch him get Spike Lee to do this. Hollywood Reporter's Tatiana Siegel and Boris Kitt wrote, "Insiders say Warner and DC are committed to hiring a black director to tackle what will be the first cinematic incarnation of Superman featuring a black actor. There are definitely a couple of big reasons to doubt the legitimacy of this rumor. As for the idea of making Superman's roots a parallel to racism and having Superman seen as champion of the oppressed, that is entirely believable given Coates' other writing is flooded with that type of messaging. One could, if you ever get a chance, flip through his autobiography. Don't buy a new copy because then he'll get money. Just find the excerpts online. I know they're out there of him talking about how he didn't give a shit about the Twin Towers and that he felt like the oppressors were getting what was coming to him effectively. One could argue that all he really knows how to write. Yeah, I just said that. Thanks for listening. Just look at his recent runs on Marvel Comics, Black Panther, and Captain America. Race swapping Lois Lane and Perry White is honestly expected. White was recently race swapped in Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and the ensuing DCEU movies. Hollywood's modus operandi is pretty much race swapping everything under the guise of their racist diversity and inclusion initiatives. I agree. They keep showing Calvin here, and this is not Kal-El. This is President Superman from Earth 23. It's a different character entirely. It's Calvin. So it's a little disingenuous to show him. Also, this is the guy that played Killmonger is going to do this Superman in a different movie, supposedly, that's being worked on. And that might actually be good. Because, first of all, that guy's a good actor. And second of all, they're not doing the stupid race swapping laziness. It's unclear if the movie will ever see the light of day. Recent rumor from scooper Mikey Sutton claimed there are two major problems with the project, other than the blatant racism. Number one, the script, the story, they're not cracking the code. Still, he explained, it's just very ambitious, trying to bite off more than they can chew, trying to make a social commentary like an Oscar bait type of film. It's not Superman enough. It's not really resonating as a Superman project. Yeah, because Ta-Nehisi Coates doesn't understand comic books. Sutton also noted he heard from one of his sources he doesn't feel for that Discovery, when they take over, is going to approve this project at $300 million. Yeah, I think it's probably going to get canceled. He really doubts that this will go forward, and I'm not saying it's dead. As of right now, it's in quicksand. Climate justice. The project might also have a major audience problem, given that not only Abrams' attachment to the project, the producer's brand is now synonymous with bad storytelling and franchise killing, but also Coates' attachment gives it numerous racist statements. Yeah, Coates has said some really racist stuff over the years. Unless you don't think you can be racist against white people for whatever reason. YouTuber Orange Chat Reviews elucidated this point in a recent video discussing these new alleged leaks. There's a link I don't care about. Said Ta-Nehisi Coates, I will not support this film with him as a writer. It's not because he's making Black Superman or a Black Clark Kent. It's because this man wrote in one of his biographies or whatever that the first responders of 9/11 deserved what they got, the ones that died when the trade centers fell on them. Yeah, that's why I think the guy's a piece of shit, too. He added, I will not support this film. It's not a Superman that follows truth, justice, in the American way, but rather a BLM version of Superman. Couldn't agree more. The YouTuber further explained, folks, this is why people are rallying against this stuff. What is wrong with identifying with a white Superman if you're black simply by his morals and virtues? Never seen a black kid not want to be Superman. Find a 6-year-old that's ever watched Superman or read a Superman comic, unless they're brainwashed by their parents, they all want to be Superman. Because Superman transcends skin tone and melanin content. What is wrong with identifying with any character that is different from your skin color because of their virtues, their philosophies, or their morals? Nothing unless you're a racist. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yep. I think these rumors are probably bullshit, and it's an attempt by somebody in Coates' entourage that's going to try and get hype built up. Oh, thanks, Scorebag. Good to see you, man. Whoops, I clicked off the stupid thing. Oh, thank you, Keldrig. Colorblind doesn't mean you only see black and white. Yeah, exactly. But they don't understand that because they see everything through their special glasses of stupid, and that's all they can see. They're kind of racist. Zaslav is a money guy. That's true. And they're already doing some layoffs and cuts. They're going to do some more over at DC. DC might get shut down. Thought Black Adam was supposed to be Black Superman in the movies. No, he's Black Adam's Middle Eastern. He's from a fictional country called Kandak, which is sort of a Babylonian pastiche, and it's located somewhere near Iraq and Iran. Hey, Peter. Remember when Dan Turpin died in Superman the Animated Series? Great moment at the funeral. I don't remember that episode. I didn't see a whole lot of the animated series. Finally, my people are not being erased in a movie. Yeah, but don't worry. Jimmy Olsen will be evil or a traitor or the oppressive white dude or whatever. Ta-Nehisi Coates can't stop himself. He hates white people. That's how it looks anyway. All the good guys will be minorities and the villains white. Yeah, that's my theory. Yeah, you're not wrong, Sean. She's also a full-blooded psychopath having a blood feud with Tony Stark because her teacher told her she could never be Tony Stark. Yeah, she needed an oppressive statement. It was such a fucked up storytelling technique to make your character look more like a villain. But that's the problem with moral relativism being inserted in hero tales. If you don't believe in good and evil, you can't have a story where someone has to overcome an obstacle because any tactic they use is acceptable. And that doesn't make for good storytelling. There has to be a challenge. They have to not be oppressed, but they have to overcome something. And that overcoming is usually an obstacle. When your obstacles are all artificial or of your own making, those aren't generally real obstacles. You're not, it's man versus nature, man versus man, man versus himself, that sort of thing. You have to follow a story arc. It's been done millions and millions of times successfully. When you try and break out of that archetype that humans are known for, you're going against human nature. Those archetypes are there for a reason. They've been successful for a reason because it's what humans relate to. And if you keep violating that, people won't watch your or consume your art, and it tends to be trash. So storytelling, stage plays, books, all forms of media that are storytelling in any aspect have to have some sense of evocative emotion, or it's not going to get anywhere. Even solo paintings have to evoke something. They have to convey an image or a message. And if your message it doesn't connect with people, it's not going to work. And in something like sequential art or movies, uh, it has to be something that people can relate to, and violating those norms, whether they're social norms or the norms of storytelling, like the hero's journey, you're not going to get very far with that. It won't last. Even no matter how much you force it on people, they will reject it. And the problem we have is most creators now aren't familiar with the forms of storytelling. They are doing postmodernism. And a lot of postmodernism ignores things like the hero's journey. They used to make you study things like Joseph Campbell in college, because I took a lot of writing classes in college. We had to learn the hero's journey and the different archetypes and different types of folklore storytelling, the old heroic ballads like Beowulf, El Cid, Gilgamesh. Those are timeless storylines for a reason. So it's important to study that sort of thing if you want to make this your craft. You have to be good at it. You can still do messaging, but it's called subtlety. And you have to still follow the formulas that are known to work. Just watch the stream about Nubia, the real one. Several times the main character is told she's perfect and anything she does is right. Yeah, Nubia sucks. Let's see. There was what's the other character? Naomi is the new one. They think they can just say, okay, girl, probably a lesbian, and a person of color, and they think that's a character. And they're always validated, they're always rewarded, their challenges are always small and easily overcome. That does not make for good storytelling because it violates storytelling norms. And it's historically never worked. I make this rant a lot, and I'm sorry for that, but it needs to be repeated because these people do not understand storytelling. If just buy one copy of Joseph Campbell, Hero of a Thousand Faces. It's like $17 in hardcover new. I'm sure you can find a $5 one at a used bookstore. Especially if you're near campus. Jesus. The funeral of Dana Herpin and Superman animated series was a memorial for Jack Kirby during the original broadcast. Had cameos of Marvel characters he created. Oh, that's cool. If you want to send the message, use Western Union, Samuel Goldwyn, right? Yeah, messaging should be very low on the totem pole. You can have a little bit of a message in there. You can couch it in different terminology. Like you don't like Gitmo, Instead of talking about Gitmo, you could have an alien fortress where people are being held against their will and your hero has to go free them. Whatever. You can couch it in allegory and analogy. But too many people do not understand that, and they lack the subtlety to tell that story. Think like a wise man, but communicate in the language of the people. William Butler Yeats. That's a fact. If you don't talk in a way people understand, you try and talk above them, you've lost them and you gain nothing. Oscar bait movies are notorious for that because they couch pseudo-intellectualism as high art, and it's just pandering, shameless nonsense. Nubia is possibly the comic with the most woke BS I've ever heard of. Oh, yeah, that's there's quite a few contenders for that. Your own making can work, but it's more because they're overcoming their own character flaws, either being physically or mentally weak in some way. Yes, but they can't do that because you have to overcome everything easily because you don't want to offend the people that you're trying to appeal to. So they can't have flaws. They have minor, trivial flaws. They never have somebody like kicking an addiction or something like that. That's too much for them because you'd have to show this stunning and brave POC or LGBTQIA plus ampersand overcoming something and starting out from a weak position, and they can't do that. Keats or Yeats? I don't know. I could rant about that, what they did to D&D for hours. Oh, dude, I hear you. We're going to see another article on D&D here in a minute. But yeah, it's getting ugly out there. Getting kind of ugly. All right. So we had some turnover at Disney. Oh, hey, Keever Dam. This is from Newsbreak. Jeff Morrell out at Disney after 3 months. He's got a criminal head shape. And this divot here, I don't trust him. He's got like arrows pointing to his teeth. I don't like that. Jeff Morrell, the chief corporate affair officer for the Walt Disney Company, is leaving just 3 months on the job to pursue other opportunities. That means he got fired, I think. Disney CEO Bob Chapek told staff Friday, after 3 months, his new role has become clear to me that for a number of reasons, it's not the right fit, Morrell told employees in an email. The former BP executive and Bush-era Pentagon spokesman joined Disney earlier this year in the new role, which included oversight of Disney's communications, government relations, and public policy efforts. You think this might be related to the Florida thing that went down? Maybe a bit. Maybe he got fired when they lost their little special privileges there. All three of those areas were tested in recent months as the company navigated fallout from its response to Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill. After initially arguing that Disney should remain apolitical as possible, Chapek and the company dealt with backlash from employees who felt it did not have their backs. Yeah, one dude walked out at one amusement park. Fuck off. Ultimately, the company would take a public position opposing the bill, but by that point, it was too late, and the measure was signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis just a few weeks later. After signing, Disney argued that it should be repealed or reversed in court. That position, in turn, attracted the ire of Republican lawmakers in the state who passed a bill, which DeSantis also signed, revoking Disney's special district around Walt Disney World. Chapek told staff that Christina Shaq would lead... Shaq will lead global communications going forward, reporting to him with government relations and public policy being led by Disney General Counsel Horatio Gutierrez. Oh, that's a badass name. If that's pronounced Horatio Gutierrez, that dude should be a cowboy. That he should be a singing cowboy with laser vision. Because I would buy that action figure in a second. Horatio Gutierrez. That fucking badass name. Shake had joined Disney earlier this month, reporting to Morrell. Christina has a strategic approach and collaborative style, as well as relentless optimism and a strong appreciation of our brand and its place in the world. That sounds like team player right there. These attributes are valuable as she works to protect and enhance our reputation. So yeah, this is just his letter here to them, updating them on that dude not being there anymore. But this guy was in charge of the response that Disney put out. There's been a little bit of conflicting stuff, but from what I can tell, this is the guy that pushed for them to come out and make the political statement. And it's no wonder he's out, because he just cost them a butt ton of money. And Disney's response to all this was, well, the government of Florida owes us $1 billion to pay off our debt that we've accrued for all the special stuff that we've been doing, like fire department, and all that stuff. And the state came out recently and gave them a big middle finger, and DeSantis all but said that was a bunch of horse hockey, and told them no. So they're probably going to see some lawsuits back and forth, but I don't see Disney winning out of that. And that's probably going to work out better for them in the long run, but in the short term, going to make them look like chumps. Ramirez. I love that name, Ramirez, dude. Suspicious phrenology indeed, right? I did not have government relations with that senator. Oh, yeah, that's true, Pete. I try not to picture Amy Schumer or Wanda Sykes, because they're both very gross people. I've been talking about axing Disney's special district for a while. Yeah, and they should have done it. I still think they should have waited a little while, so it wasn't such an obvious political gambit, because I don't think it plays well with a lot of people. But there's enough people out there that were pretty pissed about Disney getting involved. So I think it shouldn't have been in place anyway, but that's just me. All right, we are at that time of night where I do my required shilling. I want to thank you all for being here today, and please hit the like button, share it on your social media, and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to ding that bell for notifications so you know when I'm going live, and follow me on Twitter for the same reason. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can donate via the Streamlabs, which is going through your chat now, pinned at the top of the chat and in the top of the description. All donations are greatly appreciated, but so is your ability to be here. I appreciate that greatly. Now, something interesting happened with one of the Doctor Strange actors. And by interesting, I mean horrific. Because there's some really bad people out there. She's extremely mad. Yeah, she's got potential to be funny, but she shouldn't write her own jokes. And whatever writer she gets for her stand-up are awful. Is that a script? No, I just say it all the time. Floridians seem happy about it. They're getting pissed at Disney rough shooting them for a while. Yeah, because Disney just trounces everyone and no one ever stands up to them. They didn't know what to do. It was very obvious they were confused by the fact that somebody pushed back. And they're in a weak position because they have a ton of debt right now from that Fox acquisition, Lucasfilm, and Marvel acquisitions. Now, Marvel's been making them money, but Lucasfilm's been costing them money. So they haven't really made it that much money between those two. And the Fox acquisition really hasn't even come close to paying for itself. And with a lot of their rights still being tied up with the Spider-Man stuff, they're in a pretty big bind. Look, I don't blame them for buying the Fox rights up, because they got Fantastic Four and X-Men back, but they should have just went for those rights. And they've been trying to get other properties going, but it's really not working out. Yeah, they're making another Indiana Jones movie, which looks like that might just murder Harrison Ford for some reason, because he already broke his leg once. And that movie sounds like a total shit show. But that hasn't really worked out. The Aliens franchise, they haven't done anything with it, really. They're doing another Predator movie, but they're also entangled legally with the creators of Predator. So, yeah, there's a lot going on there. They're being sued. They were being sued on several fronts for a while, because Disney was paying royalties for the books, for the Star Wars books. And a lot of those guys were threatening lawsuits and stuff like that. And Disney's like, fuck you. We don't have to pay you. So they're getting embroiled in a lot of stuff. And with all this massive debt, because they had to take out massive loans to buy Lucasfilm and Fox, then those debts are coming due, and the pandemic hit at a really bad time and shut down their amusement parks, which are their big money maker, and their cruise lines, which is their backup money maker. So they were relying heavily on Disney Plus, and that's not doing it nearly as hot as they'd hoped. Then it fucked over Star Wars. Maybe they'd have a lot of money. Oh, they absolutely would if they had it, but it's sad because they don't seem to understand how Star Wars works. They don't understand science fiction, and the writers they've hired are a bunch of wokies who don't know how to tell storytelling. And Star Wars is ultimately the most pure form of the hero's journey out there. And in several aspects, you got Darth Vader's journey to the dark side and then his redemption. You've got Luke Skywalker's story as the hero's journey as he has to go out from his homeland, find himself. They even worked in the Dark Cave, which is an ancient storytelling technique and mythological aspect. George Lucas ripped off a ton of stuff. Hidden Fortress, Flash Gordon. But yeah, they shot their own golden goose there. Marvel's track record hasn't been good lately. Yeah, they're screwing it up. Moon Knight has been Moon Knight for all of about 20 minutes in the show. Otherwise, it's just Mark Spector arguing with himself for 5 hours. It's like, seriously, 15, 20 minutes of Moon Knight. That's it, tops. And some of that's flashback. It's fucking disgusting. The story's not bad if you don't want to see a superhero show. If you're trying to watch a superhero show, it's got fuck all to do with that. It looks more like a knockoff of The Mummy with Brandon Fraser, only with split personalities instead of that okay-looking chick. It's punishment for not doing their due diligence. Absolutely. This is what happens when you hire people based on their politics and not on their talent or skill. They could have had really, really good stuff. Instead, the Disney Plus stuff is sucked ass. There's almost no new content on Disney Plus. They have ramped it up a little bit, but there's almost nothing there. You have Falcon Winter Soldier, which was basically a BLM rally and a bunch of racism commentary. They did improve the proto Captain America guy. They did do that pretty well, fine. But that show sucked. WandaVision was okay, but she suffered no real consequences for brainwashing an entire town. And then you have Moon Knight, which has been tepid at best. Their only big hit has been Spider-Man. Black Widow kind of sucked. It was very mediocre. But they try to make everything way too jokey, and you can't do that and have any sense of tension or suspense. They're breaking it up way too much with trying to be cutesy and fun. Look how funny I am, tee-hee. Doesn't work. So their TV shows have been very middling. Book of Boba Fett was an interesting story about an aging bounty hunter trying a new career path. That's fine. I didn't have a problem with that per se. What I had a problem with was the constant need to put hipster shit in there. Oh, look, we got the Robo Power Rangers. It was fucking dumb. The 2 episodes of The Mandalorian they wedged in there were pretty good. But even that, they fired Gina Carano, which was one of the more interesting characters on that show. I didn't watch Bad Batch. It was basically a knockoff of The Mandalorian as far as I could tell. And I didn't like the art style. But they just don't have enough new content on there to bring you in to watch Disney Plus enough on a regular basis. I'm not buying that if I don't have to. A complete waste of my money. Thor Epic Collections, nice. Hi, Tyler. Also a change for Disney's financially weak position. Yeah, they're not used to being in that position because they used to manage their money better until about the 80s when was it Iger? No, it was before Iger. The guy before him was in charge. And Iger blew a ton of money too. They just went on spending sprees. So if you're going to sue them, it's your chance. They can't pull the legal trick out of outspending everyone. No, if everybody hits them with lawsuits at once, if they were to coordinate lawsuits, it could really fuck Disney over. Think like wise men these days. Yeah, writers today are very uninspired people. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next Doctor Strange too. I think it could be really good. That firing pissed me off. Me too. See, I thought Loki was good in a lot of elements, but it still had a lot of wokeisms hidden in there. Like that entire sequence where they're sitting at the restaurant talking about their love lives. It was so adorable. Is there a special girl out there or guy? they can't stop themselves. They got to insert it in everything. It's really, really lazy. Okay, back to this Doctor Strange article, because this is disgusting shit. The biggest reason of like Moon Knight wasn't the story. It's all the dark visuals. New OLED TV. It's strong suit, so it's been fun to test out. Oh, nice. Yeah, visually it's been good. I think Khonshu looks awesome. Although I like the comic book version a little better. I didn't mind it. He looks good in the costume, but they never show it. What are you spending that budget on? That's a lot of cocaine, guys. Like I said, the story's good, but it's not a superhero show. There's only one episode left, and he's been in the costume for like 20 minutes. That's what I hate about origin stories. Doctor Strange actress Zara Pythian accused of sex acts with tween. Yep, this will be good publicity. This is from the New York Daily News. Martial artist and actress Zara Pythian, I guess, who acted alongside Benedict Cumberbatch in the 2016 Marvel Studio film Doctor Strange, reportedly stands accused of grooming and participating in sex acts with a girl who was 13 at the time. The BBC reports that a British court heard what's-her-face, 36, and her now 59-year-old husband, Victor Mark, allegedly had a sexual relationship with the alleged victim that began in 2005 and continued in 2008. Pythian and Mark, also a martial arts practitioner, married in 2015. The couple denies any wrongdoing. Jurors in Nottingham Crown Court were reportedly played an interview conducted by police in which the alleged victim detailed her involvement with the much older pair. She said she admired Pythian, whose film credits included 2018's Outlawed and Dragon Kingdom. According to the girl, the improper liaison began when she was fed alcohol, then dared to perform fellatio on Mark. Pythian is accused of then turning the event into a menage a trois. The victim told police she knew it was wrong to have been involved with the older couple. I remember trying to copy Zara's reaction at the time because I looked up to her and tried to be like her in every way. The girl claimed that Mark threatened violence against her if she spoke of what was allegedly going on and assured her no one would believe her story. Mark also stands accused of indecent assault against a different child nearly 20 years ago, the BBC reports. So he's got a history of this. He was married to a different woman at that time. That union allegedly ended when Mark began his relationship with Pythian in 2003 when she too was a teenager. Oh, that's 3 times the charm, huh? Trial for Mark and Pythian is ongoing. So yeah, that's a thing that's happening out there in the world of disgusting perverts. Why are there so many pedos out there now? Give us Daredevil season 4. I think we're going to get some Daredevil thing, but I doubt it'll be exactly the same as the other one. I know the costume's going to change just for legal reasons. Is there anyone in Hollywood who's not a sexual predator? I doubt it. So yeah, that's a thing. Fucking degenerates everywhere, man. All right, so you guys like the X-Men show from the 90s? Because they're going to bring it back. X-Men 97. Because they're being tolerated? Yeah, they are being tolerated more. That's why it's fucking disgusting. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's going to get normalized or try to, and then you're going to see a lot of pushback. I hope you see a lot of pushback. But if Hollywood's any judge, there won't be any pushback. Maybe some parents will, and they'll just take the kids away. But if you liked X-Men back in the 90s, oh boy, they're bringing it back just for you. But don't worry, guys. It's not going to be that old dated show that you're used to. No. Bounding into Comics is dropping a truth bomb on us because they are letting us know that this Disney Plus series will reflect modern issues. The world is a different place than when the original was first made. See this? He's a teacher and she's a student, and they're going to bang. That's probably what's going to happen. You don't want to know what Apocalypse has in store for that. In the latest indication that the series will suffer from the same critical theory I introduced a word that wasn't there, from the same critical theory-based writing that has doomed so many productions before it, X-Men 97 head writer Bo DeMayo. Sorry, I threw up a little bit in my mouth thinking about what that name might mean. Bo DeMayo has suggested that the upcoming Disney Plus revival of the classic Marvel series will see a focus on today's world woven into its story. It'll be all about racism. It'll be about Apocalypse being an oppressed brown man. And all the X-Men are going to be gay. She's gay. He's gay. This is a euphemism. And it's got pictures of teenagers or some shit on it. DeMayo provided this hint at X-Men 97's planned direction during a recent discussion with the director-writer Russ Milheim regarding the various ways in which the fan-favorite incarnation of the Marvel super team's return to the small screen will differ from their initial outing. Well, you see, it used to be good, and now they're going to make that not happen. Before delving fully into the topic, DeMayo opened his talk with Milheim, by clarifying that though he and his team plan to make changes to the show, one aspect they wanted to carry over from the original was the earnestness of its characters, particularly in how all of their emotions are on full display. So no one can do anything except there'll be a lot of crying, a lot of dude hugging, probably crying during gay sex. They're all going to be oppressed and crying about that. It'd just be a blubbering mess of a show. For me, it made sense once I met Julia and Eric Lewald and Larry Houston, who are the creators and directors of the original series, who are literally the best people you could possibly imagine, as they are so earnest and sincere as people, said DeMayo. That was a nothing sentence. Just go give them handies, okay, buddy? He added, when you watch the series, I think what we remember about it is that there is such an earnestness to all the characters. Everyone's emotions are on full display. Everyone is sincere, and it's just when you meet the Leewalds and Larry, it's like, oh, I totally get it. This guy sounds like a douche. Everybody's an emotional basket case. Great. To that end, DeMayo revealed that Milheim his philosophy towards the revival production, explaining, I think the challenge to me was honoring that earnestness, that emotional sincerity in the show, where it wasn't just about the big bad of the day. Sometimes it's just about the big bad of the day. And Spider-Man, because he's cool. That was almost in some cases an afterthought, the writer recalled. Oh yeah, conflict as a motivator to a story? Weird. No, we should all just sit around and blubber and cry. Ugh. We're probably all going to sit around and eat, too. It was really about the relationship of this found family and how they cared about each other and had disagreements. What show were you watching? You were watching like Silver Spoons. He further noted, as I always just come back whenever we're talking in the writer's room and we're talking to the directors, and it's just like we have the earnest emotion in every scene, because I really do think that the secret sauce to the original series. Okay, don't use the word secret sauce unless you're talking about food or manspooge, because that's fucking gross and weird. And being an emotional wreck and unable to control yourself is not a storytelling technique that works, okay? Unless your character is going to die very quickly. Building upon this apparent focus on emotion, when asked by Milheim how X-Men 97 may improve upon or differ from the original series, the writer asserted, I don't know if improve would be a word I would use. Well, now we can both agree. This show sucks. I think the show is amazing in so many different ways, DeMayo opined. I think what I would say is that the generation who grew up watching that show, we have grown up and the world is a very different place than when the show was first made. Yeah, it's worse. And so it's more of a question of what does that show look like knowing what we know now. But he's going, bigot! And now it looks like in today's world, with everything that has changed and everything that hasn't changed, sadly, in our world, this is where I believe my focus has been as a storyteller, has really been that, he concluded. Though some may argue that Milheim's comments do not lend themselves to any To any specific narrative bent, the outspoken opinion of a number of the show's production team may provide some clues into X-Men 97's future. Previously, the show's supervising director pinned a tweet to his personal account, a function which holds a given post at the top of the user's profile, featured a message declaring, "Fuck Trump. He's still your boy. Fuck you too." Oh, wow, you're so cool being like a 30-year-old dude on a skateboard. How do you do, fellow kids? Hashtag this fool sucks. Yeah, this fool sucks. He's way too old to be doing this shit. Grow up and stop wearing your girlfriend's capris. I'm sorry, your beards. Likewise, X-Men 97 supervising producer Charlie Feldman declared in a tweet that repeated the message: Donald Trump cannot condemn white supremacists because he is a white supremacist. Yeah, you're mature. You're a grown-up. She would eventually take issue with the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse, taking to Twitter in the near immediate aftermath of the not guilty verdict to declare the cynical inevitability of the Rittenhouse verdict doesn't take out the pain of what the status quo racist bullshit represents, the terror it instills, and the lethality it codifies. Kyle Rittenhouse is an effing murderer. F white supremacy. Grow up. Feldman has also publicly explained that her personal writing is filled with such tropes as grappling with gender, himbo good boys, mom stuff, queer kids going on adventures and having zero to do with their queerness. Yeah, I'd call that into question. Folk myth, fairy tales. Neil Gaiman probably did this better. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And anxiety over the future. You sound like an emotional basket case, so being anxious over the future seems like a feature to your functionality. To this end, X-Men 97 lead showrunner Eric Lewald has promised that the revival would not only be developed for the core audience of maybe teens on Disney Plus and adults, but also explore adult themes. Who's he gonna plow? They're starting out with adult themes, Lewald said during a November appearance on the Power of X-Men podcast. So they're starting out with thinking of this is a bunch of adults thrown together, struggling with something, and we're going to show the melodrama, and we're going to show you some of the personal things that adults go through. I'm sad, Spider-Man. I don't care. Suck it up, and we got a monster to fight. But I'm sad. Oh, well, why don't you tell me about your feelings, you big baby, while the city burns to the ground? Fucking dumb. What do you make of DeMeo's insight in the direction of X-Men 97? This show's going to be fucking dog shit. That's what I take from it. I mean, this is the best you could do is F Trump. Dude, grow up. Look, I'm an immature person that posts a bunch of dumb shit on Twitter. But for fuck's sake, I'm also not claiming to be like this magnanimous writer. Although, you should buy my books. Because, I need the money. They're not good, but I also don't claim to be a fucking X-Men writer. Which of the X-Men do you think will transition first? Morph! It's the easiest one. Adult themes, okay, groomer, pretty much. What about she thought he killed black protesters? Probably. Yeah, it's going to be a fucking woke nonsense mess. Just for good measure. There's my Streamlabs. Ernest goes to the X-Men universe. That would actually improve it. Spider-Man has... Yeah, he's got webbing. Spider-Man always brings his own bondage material. Let me grab a drink from my mini fridge. Best thing I ever did was put this table next to the fridge. So I could literally turn around and reach the microwave and the fridge all in one go. Alrighty. Or this would save the Marvelverse. Yeah, but they'd probably call him a bigot for it because he would probably vote for Trump because he was a hill folk. I miss Ernest too, Retro. He was good people. Okay, well, also over at Bounding, Rumor HBO Max to race swap John Constantine and J.J. Abrams production. I don't understand how J.J. Abrams keeps getting things to ruin. He has done nothing but destroy franchises. And this guy was great as Constantine. He did he looked the part and he did a pretty good job, I thought. We haven't heard much about J.J. Abrams' adaptation of Justice League Dark Properties, which was supposed to be big and ambitious and encompass several characters with a handful getting their own movies, from Deadman to Zatanna and Madame Xanadu. You don't see much as Madame Xanadu anymore, because it's like Auntie Romani or whatever. The cynical wizard John Constantine is on the list, and most reports maintain Abrams was veering as far from Matt Ryan on the CW and Keanu Reeves in the 2005 standalone cult flick as he could. If you don't know anything about Constantine, the Keanu Reeves movie isn't bad. But if you're a fan of the comic, it's not anywhere near it. And like I said, I thought that Matt Ryan did a good job for the TV shows, on the short-lived TV series of Constantine, and on the Legends of Tomorrow. A while back, one casting notice shared by the Illuminati indicated Abrams and Warner Brothers were looking for a Riz Ahmed type person of color in reference to the Venom actor who played Carlton Drake to help them reboot the Sorcerer. Yeah, because, magic sorcerers, they obviously have to be like Middle Eastern or some shit. Or black, I guess. Now, Illuminerd has an update for us that corroborates and adds to the prior exclusive mentioned above, in which they say Abrams and the WB are circling British Nigerian actor Sope Derizu to be the next Constantine. I'm sorry, dude, I can't pronounce your name. Known for stage screen in the horror film His House, Illuminerd is optimistic about what Derizu brings to the table. What's-his-face could be the perfect actor to take on this beloved role. Says their exclusive citing his experience in the noted horror film and action with the British action crime series Gangs of London. Oh, okay, yeah. He's probably a good actor, but that doesn't make him right for Constantine. Why do they have to race swap everything? Oh, yeah, because they're a bunch of racists. Written by the UK-based writer and novelist Guy Bolton, HBO's Max's Constantine will be more horror-focused, according to Illuminerd sources, with the character being dragged into the world of the occult by a 10-year-old Cambodian girl named Akara. They are still trying to cast. That's a little bit more in line with the comics. She also has a grandfather in his 60s that is deceptively strong. That role is still open too, and the description may indicate that he is possessed by inhuman strength. It's commonly reported when demonic activity is investigated. Speculation: Akara could really be Astra Logu, a character in the Hellblazer comics as a spotty history with John. An exorcism he attempted that went wrong, and she was condemned to hell. No premiere dates set. No premiere or start date for filming is set for the new incarnation, but Constantine may kickstart the whole Justice League Dark Universe on HBO Max. At the same time, Abrams is producing a reboot of Superman by Ta-Nehisi Coates. The set future POC in the title of Kal-El, though the project is at risk of not achieving it all. If they keep race swapping, they're going to lose more and more people. They just do not understand that. Because when somebody sees the show and they want to go buy some of the source material, and DC's notoriously bad about making this work, and so is Marvel. People go to the shops and they don't see what they saw on the screen. They see something totally different. So why would they support that? Oh, he was the voice in Black Flag. Didn't know that. So they're going to fuck this up and ruin their own cross-marketing potential. Warner Brothers is dumb to follow Marvel down the replacement nonsense. And DC is probably going to get shut down because of it. This week they killed off the Justice League. See my review for the death of the Justice League and Justice League number 75. Which is available right here. Oh, thank you, Lesser Logic, for the generous donation. Trying to think what else from my childhood they will decide to ruin next. Yeah, dude, I don't know. They've been digging deep. What? Thank you for that, Lesser. Let's see. What else can they ruin? Oh boy, I don't know. $6 Million Man. That they kind of did that in the comics recently. There's a lot of property franchises out there that they just take a big steaming shit on. They did Masters of the Universe. They did all the superhero movies are getting woke, so there's a lot there. I don't know. They could probably make. I guess they kind of have made Garbage Pail Kids kind of woke because they made a couple of cheap shot ones at Trump. But yeah, everything's political now with these creatively bankrupt losers that they get. Well, let's laugh at something for once. Instead of, it's not all dark and sad news. Because layoffs at Netflix have some staffers questioning company strategy and culture. This is from AOL of all places. At Netflix, it's been long known that an adequate performance gets a generous severance package. Oh, dare to dream. The Los Gatos, California company views its roughly 11,300 employees as members of a pro sports teams in which every player has to be a star performer or else they're gone, reflecting what the company calls a keeper test. When you're a team, we're a team, not a family, Netflix says of its culture. But what happens when the entire team's performance is called into question? Last week, Netflix said it lost subscribers for the first time in more than a decade, shedding 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter and expected to lose 2 million more this quarter. That's a massive loss. Maybe if all your stuff wasn't woke trash and boring, you won't lose those subscribers. And I guarantee you a lot of those are going to be right after people have binged Stranger Things season 4, which the last season wasn't that great. So the disclosure unnerved investors who wondered whether the streaming giant had lost its golden touch. Shares plummeted 35% on April 20th, its biggest one-day decline since 2004. In 18 years, you didn't do this bad. You're doing something very, very wrong. And that's your woke content. Responding to its dramatic slowdown, Netflix said it would test ways to encourage people to pay for sharing passwords. Yeah, that won't blow up in your face because now if you're forcing some kid that's off to college to watch your parents' Netflix account, you think they're not going to just switch over to something else that lets you do that, like HBO Max? Put out better shows, good luck with that. Films and games, and explore a lower cost ad supported version of Netflix, an option the company had long resisted. Now, unfortunately, I think they're going to be stupid. And instead of putting like one commercial at the beginning and end of a movie, they're going to put commercials in the middle or any point between the opening credits and the closing credits. If they do that, they're going to lose a lot more people because I could watch TV for that. But the bleak subscriber numbers and the company's response have stirred a mix of angst and uncertainty among many rank and file workers. Some are worried that the streaming heavyweight may have hired too fast and grown complacent as subscriber growth skyrocketed in the early days of the pandemic. Yeah, they absolutely did. And they thought these high numbers would last forever. But now people are going back to work and they have other shit to do. So they're shedding off. Plus, there's a lot of other choices for streaming. And Netflix's options, let's face it, they've been getting a lot of shit content. Not just their original stuff's been sucking ass, but also they're picking up lazy movies. Like, I'm sure not everybody wants to watch Three-Headed Shark Attack other than me. Now, I enjoy those kind of movies, but most people do not. So it's kind of a bad look to just get a bunch of like cast off third tier Hallmark movies and sci-fi films. Others are skeptical about strategic shifts and concerned that Netflix distinct culture is fundamentally changing, according to former employees who spoke with the Times of London. In comments posted on a private Netflix group on Blind, an anonymous forum for people who work with company-verified email addresses. I haven't been on Blind in a long time, but I remember there's some interesting shit on there. Now we find ourselves at a company which is increasingly looking like every other large tech company, wrote one Netflix employee online, citing changes in compensation policies that are said to favor hiring less experienced engineers at lower pay. Would they still be doing this if they had hired a little more slowly over the last few years? Yeah, they probably would be. I think not. So, where is the accountability for leaders who made bad decisions to overhire? Well, they're compensating for that by hiring people cheaper now and probably cutting the chaff. An overriding concern for many is job security, which was magnified Thursday when Netflix cut an undisclosed number of marketing related positions, including from Tudum, a publication dedicated to promoting Netflix content. The pop culture site has been touted by former chief marketing officer Bosma St. John, who exited in March. The company said Tudum remained an important priority. I've never heard of Tudum, so that tells me they're probably not doing a very good job. And if they cut a bunch of people and you don't know how many, that means it was probably a lot. After Netflix released its earnings, some workers laid off this week said they had been assured by managers that their jobs were secured. The managers will always say that. Oh, you got nothing to worry about. If you suspect downsizing is coming, start saving money. You should always have a nest egg to fall back on as much as possible, preferably 3 to 6 months worth of rent and utilities and other bills that you can pay. That's hard to do. I understand that. Live below your means and save as much money as you can. If there's layoffs coming, just assume you're on the block because most people will be. You never know when a company's going under. There are warning signs. I've been through a lot of businesses going under. There's always warning signs, but whenever they start reassuring you about your job, be worried. We're basically told don't worry about it, said one former contractor who declined to be named because they signed a non-disclosure agreement. And they know that. They know you're not going to say anything or they'll sue you. And you're probably not going to get a severance. Just assume you're not. If you do, awesome. But most likely you're not getting any kind of severance. Said they were told Thursday was their last day and they would receive 2 weeks severance. 2 weeks severance won't last you very long, so make sure you got some money saved up. They're leaving a lot of people in an extremely bad position that came here to invest in a project that they sold to us. Yeah, that's the whole point of tricking you into working there. That's every employer. It's called puffing. It's like buying a car and they're like, oh, one little old lady owned it for 30 years and only drove it to and from the grocery store. It's a lie, but it's called puffing and it's not illegal. Things change very quickly sometimes in corporations, and the bigger the corporation, the easier it is to get fired. So, first of all, if your boss knows your name, you're probably in trouble. Further fueling the anxiety is the effect of the steep stock slide. Netflix shares have dropped 70% this year. On staff compensation, employees can choose how much of their pay is tied to stock options. Oh, you're boned if you did that. Amid the tumult, rivals have received a surge of job inquiries from Netflix employees, said people familiar with the matter who were not authorized to comment publicly. Do you recommend putting work aside for a bit and start interviewing? Quipped one employee online. Netflix declined to comment for this story. The company has long touted its culture of radical transparency, in which people are given freedom to make large spending decisions and take big bets. Oh, I bet that didn't backfire horribly. Employees who don't live up to Netflix's high standards either learn from their mistakes or are asked to leave. Getting cut from our team is very disappointing, but there is no shame, according to Netflix website, on its corporate culture. Being on a dream team can be the thrill of a professional lifetime. Despite the tough environment, Netflix earned a reputation for generous compensation packages and its willingness to outspend rivals. Its staff grew aggressively during the pandemic, growing 20% in 2021. What's more, the streamer spent lavishly on content, bankrolled filmmakers, and kept a steady flow of deals coming through talent agencies, making it the toast of an industry that's always looking for deep-pocketed buyers. At the same time, the company's swagger provoked consternation among executives at more traditional studios, whose parent companies were under pressure to try and beat Netflix at its own game. Sometimes slow and steady does win the race. But the recent struggles have been an ego check to the company and its employees. They got arrogant. During the pandemic, bankrolling a few extra projects is probably a solid idea. But they went a little nuts. And a lot of it was woke content. So, I mean, they put cuties on, for God's sake. But the recent struggles have been now that Netflix is the one under the Wall Street's microscope, the era of freewheeling spending is coming to an end. Even perks like swag from the company's store are drawing scrutiny, insiders said. They should have known that was going to end. Whenever your company starts giving away a bunch of free shit, you should know that bonus thing is going to end real fast and it's going to go the other direction. In a presentation last week, Chief Financial Officer Spencer Newman said Netflix will be prudent in terms of pulling back on some of the spend growth to reflect the realities of the revenue change growth of the business. Due to this period of slower revenue growth, we're going to protect our operating margins. Even before the Gundam layoffs, several managers have exited the company in recent months, including animation executive Phil Renata? Whatever. That's why they canceled the Bone one and several other animation projects that we talked about last time. The newfound frugality could reverberate in Hollywood with so much money having been poured into the space. Other players who've spent the last 4 years trying to outdo Netflix may rethink their priorities. Some current and former employees say that the concerns are overblown. The streaming giant has weathered challenges before, including the shift from DVD rentals to streaming, when Netflix was still primarily a disc-by-mail service. It continued to grow as rival studios, including Disney, yanked their content from Netflix to put on their own streaming services. Yeah, but that made your content get worse. And with all these other places creating streaming services, now you have a lot of competition and less material to draw from. That's why you have to do more original stuff, and your original stuff kind of sucks. It hasn't been good since the Marvel stuff. And some of that was trash. Jessica Jones. Netflix co-founder and co-CEO Reed Hastings expressed confidence that the company will get through this rough patch, pointed out that Netflix still dominates streaming with 222 million subscribers globally. Its nearest competitor, Disney Plus, is 130 million. Yeah, but let's not forget the fact that in places like India, it's like $1 a month to subscribe to these services because it's a third world country and they can't afford it. So those numbers are a little misleading. Internally, we're really geared up, and this is like our moment to shine, Hastings said in an earning presentation last week. He has to say that. This is when it all matters, and we're super focused on achieving those objectives and getting back into investors' good graces. But some current and former employees are skeptical of the strategy, especially the dramatic pivot to consider an ad-supported subscription option in an earnings presentation. This feels like a huge curveball, one former employee said. It looks like desperation. In 2019, when entertainment executives speculated at Cannes Lions that Netflix would explore adding advertising to its streaming service, Netflix told CNBC it was wishful thinking from an advertising conference. Hastings admitted in last week's earnings presentation that he had been against advertising, believing it hindered the user's experience, but he said he had since come around to the idea. I'm a bigger fan of consumer choice, Hastings said. Now, if they were doing ads like commercial breaks for a free service, that would be one thing. But if I'm paying for the service, I don't want to pay to see fucking ads. So even YouTube has a service where you can pay to not see ads. A producer who worked with Netflix and asked not to be identified said that felt like a panic move. Yeah, it absolutely looks like one. Netflix is frequently a player at the Emmys and Oscars and has produced critically acclaimed and award-winning programming such as The Crown and The Queen's Gambit. Nonetheless, a persistent critique of Netflix is that its TV-style programming movies often have fleeting relevance and little lasting cultural impact because it's at best popcorn fare and at worst a bunch of propaganda. There's growing recognition within Netflix that the company must produce better content as competitors like Disney and HBO Max make major strides in streaming. People close to the film said, because the company releases full seasons of its shows all at once, and it makes it easy for subscribers to cancel, Netflix needs to release a new hit every month to stay competitive and keep growing, executives have said. Now, what they could do is shows like what they did with Daredevil, break it into 2 story arcs and release the first story arc as one thing, wait a few months and release the second story arc. But they don't do that because they lack foresight and they're arrogant. They also have criticism from staffers that its content and leadership do not reflect and are not fully inclusive of the transgender community Concerns that were brought up after transphobic language was included in a Dave Chappelle special last year, a special that was a massive hit for Netflix. At the time, some employees staged a walkout and demonstration. Yeah, a handful of crybabies. Co-CEO Ted Sandros later told Variety that he had screwed up that internal communication, but the company kept the special on its streaming service because it was a massive hit. If that guy had been smart, he'd have fired every one of those employees because they're not team players. You get on board with what we're doing or you get out. Because those people are going to be troublemakers down the line then too. If they think they can bully you like that, they're going to keep doing it. And as harsh as it is, you have to cut the chaff. And people that are trying to push back against their bosses in such a public way need to be fired. They're not team players. The whole point that was being made was about the fact that there's millions of people who don't watch Netflix, who don't pay for Netflix because there's not enough content on the platform that is engaging to them, said former Netflix program manager B. Pagels Minor, who helped lead the protest and was fired after being accused of leaking internal data. Pagels Minor denied the claim. This is from the originally from the LA Times. Sorry, I said the London Times. It's the LA Times. Now, Netflix is making some dumb moves. Putting ads on there, unless they're just at the beginning and end, it's a massive mistake. And going after people for password sharing, not going to help. What you could do is tie whoever logs into the second account, make them watch ads at the beginning and end of the movie. That would work. Then you would get both. You could allow people to password share, and only the primary doesn't have ads. But they're not that smart, and they have a bunch of woke crap content. I don't want to see a bunch of political nonsense on there. It's boring, and it's just taking up filler space, and you're just wasting server space at that point. So Netflix might be doing some really bad moves here. Morning, Andrew. Characters in Netflix movies will suddenly become huge fans of Raid Shadow Legends. That's what it sounds like. Product placement would not surprise me, and that'd be the least offensive thing. That'd be the easiest way to go, quite honestly. Sorry, my sinuses are acting up again because of the yo-yo weather. Glad to catch the show live. We'll probably go back to the start. Have a good one. Have a good one to you too, man. Glad you're here. Streaming services have oversaturated the market. Going to make more features like CNN because of it. Yeah, the CNN Plus was a great example of what happens. People prioritize with their money, especially as we enter a recession. People want value for the dollar. And you know what's offering that right now? Fucking HBO Max. The stuff that's coming out on there, they have some solid stuff. Yeah, there's some woke crap in there too, but it's not nearly as cluttered as Netflix was with it. And they've got some good movies. I watched Kong versus Godzilla on there. I watched the Batman again recently. They've actually got some good content, so they're doing well. They're actually adding a lot of stuff constantly. So, and some original programming. They're gonna tie in the Discovery Plus stuff, I guess, soon. That'll be cool. Hey, Louie. Remember the whole Dave Chappelle drama? Felt like it was really about his multi-million-dollar paycheck. Yeah. Well, they paid a lot of money to him. They weren't going to just take it off the air, especially because it was wildly successful. Envy is right. That's exactly what these people have, and it's sad. Oh, yeah, the Obamas. Yeah, that's true. Pandemic gave them a captive audience, so it's going back to normal. Yeah, that's what they're afraid of. Well, have a good night, Gorebag. I heard they're doing a Hot Wheels movie. They'll even ruin cars. Yup. Checked out on Netflix about a year ago. Yeah, I was watching one of my buddy's accounts, but he canceled too. And I canceled my brother's account. So I'm responsible for at least one of those cancellations. All right. So you remember that Flash movie with Chokeslam Miller? Well, we got some rumors coming out of that. So because it involves the multiverse and the DC, which, DC did it first. Fair enough. This is from Cosmic Book News. Batman Adam West, Superman's Christopher Reeves, and Linda Carter Wonder Woman rumored for The Flash. These will all be, of course, CGI'd in because, well, these two are dead and she's really old. So, but man, that outfit. Batman Adam West, Superman Christopher Reeve, and Linda Carter Wonder Woman are rumored to appear in the Flash movie, which will see Barry Allen exploring the DC multiverse. The rumors offer archival footage of Batman Adam West, those three, be used in the Flash, with TMZ offering there are different cuts of the movie out there, so things can always be switched up by Warner Brothers. It's claimed old footage of Adam West, Christopher Reeve, and Linda Carter will be used as Barry Allen hopscotches through the different superhero universes, where he doesn't interact with them but sees them in action. And since this old footage is being used, that means they won't be brought back using deepfake CGI. They'll probably still use CGI to touch it up and whatnot, update it, because the film quality is going to be different. I'm going to beat the shit out of you so hard. The official synopsis for The Flash hasn't been released, but the flick has been described by the trades as introducing the DC multiverse as Barry Allen, the Flash, breaks the bonds of physics and crashes into parallel dimensions, leading to encounters with different versions of the DC superheroes, including Michael Keaton Batman and the Sasha Calle Supergirl. The film has also been described as following the Flash as he travels back in time to save his mother and reverses her death, which causes drastic changes to the timeline that sees the Flash connect to new universes, with the Michael Keaton Batman 89 universe and others, which now looks to include Adam West Batman 66 universe, Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve Superman movie universe, and the Linda Carter Wonder Woman TV universe. Remember, the Wonder Woman TV show took place in World War II as well. Gal Gadot is also said to be appearing in The Flash, which will also see the return of Michael Shannon as Zod and Andre Treyu as Feora from Man of Steel. Look for additional surprise appearances too. That's supposed to come out in June 2023. Ben Affleck is supposed to be in there as Batman 2. They're supposedly going to erase the Snyderverse. And this dumbass probably is not helping things on that front. Oh, man, he looks like, yeah, you're not wrong, Pete. He looks like he's like swimming through water. Like if you were on a treadmill running in water, that's how he looked. He runs. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't know if he was like an ice skater at one point in his life, but he runs really, really weird. I don't know if I dropped the link for that last article, so I'll do that now. Know why you're more likely to be attacked by Ezra Miller than a shark? You're not wrong, sadly. Got a free Netflix trial because I wanted to watch the Dave Chappelle special after I watched the special. Couldn't find anything I wanted to watch, so I canceled it a couple weeks before it expired. Member berries is all they have left. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, he got arrested. Retro, yeah, you're not wrong. He got arrested like 3 times in 2 weeks. They shouldn't be desperate, though, Frosted. They have a ton of talent out there. They're just botching it so horribly badly because they're stupid. They're a bunch of stupid dummy heads. All right, give me 1 second here. And now let's look at another superhero movie from Variety. I know you guys all are hip with the kids. You're going to know who this clown is. I don't. But Bad Bunny unveiled as new superhero El Muerto from Sony Pictures. He's an obscure Spider-Man character, who's like an anti-hero. But this guy looks like a homeless douchebag with a septum ring. I don't trust people's septum rings. I'm sorry. Ear gauges, okay, we could be friends. I'll judge you a little bit, but leeway granted. Because if you're like a tattoo guy or you're just a badass, you can have ear gauges. But septum rings, they're only for steers and something else. And I think we all know what I'm referring to. Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, better known by his stage name Bad Bunny. You have a name that's that badass and you went with Bad Bunny? Fuck you, dude. That's for guy's name like Phil Pants. Phil Full Pants. If your name is Phil Full Pants, you could go by Bad Bunny. But your name's Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio. You already have a cool name, dude. has been cast as the newest Marvel superhero in Sony Pictures' portfolio of superhero characters, and will lead the standalone comic book film El Muerto, set to hit theaters January 12th, 2024. Introduced by Sony Motion Picture Group President Stanford Panitch. See, Panitch? Panitch sounds like Pants Itch. That dude should change his name to something a little more hardcore. At CinemaCon, the annual gathering of movie theater owners in Las Vegas, Ocasio was the first ever Latino actor to headline a live-action Marvel movie. Who cares? To bring El Muerto to life is just incredible, so exciting. The chart-topping rapper, the dude's a rapper. Wow, standards really dropped. Told the crowd, adding that he grew up as a fan of wrestling. Known as Juan Carlos Estrada Sanchez in the comics, El Muerto is a wrestler whose powers are handed down by ancestry in the form of a mask. Oh, he's a luchador, okay. Which, according to Marvel official site, gives him superhuman strength. Oh, he's a Bane knockoff, got it. In his past narratives, El Muerto has gotten in the ring with Spider-Man himself. On stage at CinemaCon, Sony Brass suggested Ocasio will play an anti-hero on the verge of inheriting his father's power. Sony's adaptive Marvel rights have yielded 3 Spider-Man iterations over 20 years, with the current Tom Holland-led series most recently enjoying massive hit in Spider-Man No Way Home. Additional franchises, Venom, Morbius, blah, blah, blah. Upcoming movies projects included the anticipated Madam Web, which is not played by an old lady. It's led by some like 30-year-old chick. A female-led adventure starring Dakota Johnson, which is due in theaters July 7, 2023, and the imminent Kraven the Hunter, led by Nocturnal Animals star Aaron Taylor Johnson, which hits theaters on January 13th, 2023. Kraven the Hunter could be cool, but I suspect it won't be. And this Madam Web movie is going to suck donkey cock. And this one probably will too. Notice how here this guy looks pretty big. Like, I know that's a small picture, but you can see he's bigger than Spider-Man in his stupid little Iron Spider outfit. This dude doesn't look very big. Okay. In fact, he looks like he might have a bit of a double chin here. He looks kind of like Latino Screech. So I'm not real impressed by that. The guy was in like 2 or 3 comics. I don't know why he'd get a movie. Good question, Ori. Sounds like a bad DJ. Yeah, absolutely. The Phil Bernsteins of the world, right? Bernstein Bears. When he's got submarine, Lord give me strength, right? He looks Jewish. He does, but he's definitely got a Latino name. I think it's just a bad picture of him. All right, well, things aren't done being stupid over the world, so we've got a little bit more to go over. So we're going a little long because I was ranting for like half an hour. Sony made any good superhero movies since Sam Raimi days? No. They made some mediocre ones. Like the last Spider-Man one had its moments of coolness, but there was a lot of stupid shit in there too. But as far as it being a superhero film, it was fine. It just wasn't the greatest thing ever. I've seen way better. I like the Sam Raimi first 2 movies. Third one was a dog shit movie, but it was still better than the new Spider-Man one. So yeah, they've been really crapping the bed. All right, this is from ICV2. Oh, I should probably drop the link to that stupid story. Cancel. Paste. There we go. California man threatened DC IGN over John Kent's bisexuality, according to an FBI affidavit. California man admitted sending threats to DC Comics, an unnamed DC writer, and the website IGN.com, according to an affidavit filed by FBI Special Agent Casey Anderson in a case involving threats to the dictionary publisher Merriam-Webster. He sent threats to Merriam-Webster. That's kind of lazy, dude. Kind of. Don't send threats to people. That's dumb. And definitely don't talk to the FBI without a lawyer. And even then, keep your fucking mouth shut. Don't admit to stuff. Just get a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I can't give you legal advice, but If the FBI is looking for you, dude, shut the fuck up. That's just common sense. The threats to DC and IGN began on October 12, 2021, the day DC announced John Kenton's bisexual. IGN received 8 communications that day, both emails and comments through its website, threatening violence and denigrating LGBTQ people. I'm not reading that sentence, but it was not good. He's going to do bad stuff for discriminating against conservatives and silencing conservative speech, said one message. The only good Democrat is, one of them. Yep. This is dumb. This is lazy, too. You're not even being vague, dude. You think they won't track your IP? How old are you? Are you like 70? On October 16th, a writer for DC, unnamed in the affidavit, reported receiving Facebook messages from a Facebook user named Jeremy Hansen, threatening bad things, no touching, and Gwyneth Paltrowing his wife, and doing a Oklahoma City at a building. God, this is hard dancing around the rules. The affidavit also states that several email addresses associated with DC received emails with the subject line. Oh my God, he put that in the subject line. He was upset about them ruining Superman. I'm definitely going to drop this link in chat because I can't get away with some of this. In an interview with FBI agents on October 27th, Hansen, who used his own fucking name like a tard, admitted to making threatening remarks online to IGN and DC regarding the sexual orientation of Superman. He probably didn't realize that this was Superman's fake son instead of actually Kal-El. He also said that he suffers from a number of conditions, including obsessive compulsive disorder, Asperger's, anxiety, and depression, and he struggles with impulse control. No shit. And that while he knows making online threats is illegal, he is unable to control himself or his emotions. That dude's probably going to hurt somebody someday. The affidavit also includes accounts of several interviews with Hansen's mother, who told investigators that her son has developmental disorders and has been stressed due to the coronavirus and changes in his medication. However, the affidavit paraphrased her as saying he poses no threat to the community because he's reclusive, she supervises him, and he has no access to weapons. Yeah, he probably isn't actually a threat, but those threats do sound bad, and will get you in big trouble. That's why you have to be careful about what you say in chat. Not only would I get kicked off YouTube, but the misinformation cops might come to your door. The Chris Chan of Superman comics? Yeah, pretty much. Anderson filed the affidavit to support a criminal case charging Hansen with making threats to Merriam-Webster that had caused the dictionary publisher to shut down its offices for 5 days. Pussies. The affidavit also enumerated threats to the ACLU, Amnesty International, Hasbro Toys, Walt Disney Incorporated, and others. The FBI traced the IP addresses, email accounts, and a cell phone number that were linked to Hansen. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Massachusetts, Hansen has been charged with 1 count of interstate communication of threats to commit violence in the Merriam-Webster case. He was arrested in California on April 20th and released with conditions. He will appear before the federal court in Springfield, Massachusetts, where Merriam-Webster is located, on April 29th. That was yesterday. This dude's probably going to jail for like 20 years. They're going to throw the fucking book at him, especially if he's light on the melanin content. So yeah, don't do that shit, guys. Yeah, that's not good. I'm guessing his dad left to get cigarettes. He probably left because the kid's a psycho. Or he thought he was. Means Biden's Ministry of Truth that wants to be formed. Oh yeah, they're gonna form it. Don't worry, dude. They're gonna extradite him. Yeah, they probably will. Well, it's federal, so they won't need to once the feds grab him. Hey Q, how you doing, man? Yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. People are getting a little unhinged by the isolation. That's probably why his meds were getting adjusted, because of the social isolation and being at home all the time. When you're shut in, it can do shit to your brain. And you have to really kind of try and interact with people in a healthy way, or you end up kind of going a little bonkers. Humans are social animals, whether we want to admit it or not. We are at that time again. Where I thank you for watching the show. We're not quite done yet. There will be some more articles, but thank you for coming and watching, and please hit the like button, share it on your social media if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're not. Ring that bell for notifications, and if you're feeling generous, feel free to donate some cash to the Streamlabs account. It accepts PayPal. It's going through your chat right now and pinned at the top of the chat and in the top of the description. And again, thank you for watching. All right, next article. Some interesting news. For those of you that were late 80s kids that had toys, G.I. Joe specifically, you may remember a really cool toy that was out there, and that was fucking G.I. Joe and Sergeant Slaughter. WWE Hall of Famer Sergeant Slaughter joins G.I. Joe Classified line, signs multi-year deal. This is going to be awesome. The Hasbro G.I. Joe team held their first Fan First Tuesday live stream earlier this week, and over the course of the presentation, they revealed quite a few new figures and sneak peeks. While there were several great reveals, it was not the focus of the biggest surprise of the stream, which is the reveal of the fan favorite G.I. Joe character and WWE Hall of Famer Sergeant Slaughter, who is now coming to Hasbro's excellent G.I. Joe Classified line of action figures. I bought a couple of those recently on clearance. They're really fucking nice. No wonder they're $25. During the presentation, Sergeant Slaughter delivered a promo saying that he had re-enlisted with Hasbro in the Joe franchise, but Wrestling Inc. is also reporting that he has signed a multi-year deal with Hasbro, so perhaps we'll see even versions of Slaughter down the line. More versions, I think is what they meant there. Now, remember, they did that Masters of the Universe line from Mattel with the wrestlers. I think they're going to do something similar. Back in the mid-90s when G.I. Joe was really on the wane, they did like Street Fighter G.I. Joe size toys. Those were kind of cool. Sergeant Slaughter did have a G.I. Joe figure then. Hopefully we'll see a relaunch of that as well as these tall classified ones, because the classified ones are like 6 or 7 inch tall. Hopefully there'll be a 375 one too, like a anniversary one. That'd be fucking awesome. I liked him on G.I. Joe. I didn't watch wrestling very much as a kid. It wasn't my thing. Sergeant Slaughter's video promo was classic, and you can see it here. It normally is on here, but for some reason it won't load on this browser. I'll drop the link when I'm done. Sergeant Slaughter's blah blah blah. He does a little voice thing. The figure looks fantastic. It's based on the animated version of Slaughter, but gives everything a slick and a touch more realistic classified sheen. No word yet on when the figure will release, but it will be a fan channel release most likely, and hopefully we can all pre-order the figure soon. We'll keep you posted with more details are released. Other big reveals include the newest wave of classified as well as sneak peeks at the upcoming classified retro card figures, Storm Shadow and Zartan, and the Resolute themed Snake Eyes and Timber. This is the 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe Real American Hero, and Hasbro will have a Yo Joe event later this year, so expect even more reveals sooner than later. I think this is great news. So if you're a Sergeant Slaughter fan, you're going to want to get in on this. There should be some links in the article, so if you want to check out the video and all that. Oh, have a good one, nobody. Thanks for watching, man. Needs to go back to 12-inch. Oh, that could be cool. The 7-inch figures are really nice, but they're like $25 and way out of the range of getting them for your kids. They're cool collectibles, though. If you want something to put on a bookshelf or display or something, they're really nice. But they are expensive. And they're definitely not made for kids because of that. And you can't really get the big vehicles or anything. They did do some relaunches of like the Hiss and I think Wild Bill and his helicopter were one. There were a couple of them, and they weren't that expensive. But I didn't see a Snowcat or anything cool like that. But they did a Hiss, the little gyrocopter, Wild Bill and his helicopter, and a couple others. But they were all the 3.75 size. And I like those, but they were like the single figures were like $12 or $13. I bought one of them because I could only find Stalker. And I really wanted Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Scarlet ones, but I can't find them anywhere for anywhere near cheap. And $13 a piece is a ripoff. And I expect that price will probably go up. I think I got into wrestling more because of my buddies. My pastor father was not into wrestling, so it was never on in my house. Yeah, I understand that. A lot of my friends that I did have at the time were into wrestling, and I didn't have a whole lot of friends as a kid, but I'd make friends and then they'd not hang out with me because I was a social pariah. But the people I did know that were real into wrestling were real into it. And as a comic book nerd, since I was like 8, I never really got into it. That's true, Peter. Yeah, English is a very hard language to learn because it's so full of awesome. All right, now for some interesting news in the world of comics from Bounding into Comics. Titan announces new partnership to publish new Kamen Rider series stories. So if you like the Kamen Rider series from when you were a kid, it might be for you. Titan Manga announced a new partnership with Stonebot that allows them to publish a brand new Kamen Rider series and more. Yeah, Stonebot and Titan teaming up. Stonebot, I wasn't aware was like mostly foreign stuff because they usually do stuff through like Red 5, so it's not seen a lot. But Titan's a lot bigger of a publisher. I'm kind of surprised that the rights didn't go to Boom Studios because Boom has the Power Rangers and they've done crossovers in the shows. The press release, Titan Manga revealed that they first will be publishing Adam the Beginning Volume 1 on October 11th, 2022. It's the original manga based on the god of manga Osamu Tezuka's famous Astro Boy. All right, the robot looks pretty cool. I don't know anything about this one, but that does look pretty cool, actually. I'm not into mangas, but at least the robot looks cool. Titan describes the manga as a sci-fi manga about the turbulent lives of two robotics engineer students and their latest revolutionary project, the unassuming yet insanely strong A106 or 6. He's no Johnny 5, because Johnny 5 was alive. Second volume would be published on December 13th, 2022. The series was originally serialized in Monthly Hero magazine before being transferred to Complex. There are currently 16 Tankobon volumes published in Japanese. Following Adam the Beginning Volume 1, they will publish Kamen Rider Kuga on November 8th, 2022. Titan details Kamen Rider Kuga goes beyond the bounds of a normal adaptation and redefines its heroes for modern audiences. Oh, I bet he's going to fight racism. Expanding its universe and connecting it to other incarnations of the bug-eyed hero in a completely approachable way for new readers who haven't encountered a Kamen Rider story before. Second volume would be published January 10th, 2023. Well, you gotta wait 3 months. That's dumb. There are currently 18 volumes published by Heroes in Japan. Oh, there's only 18 volumes. That's why they're staggered. Finally, they also announced a Kamen Rider 01 comic written by Brandon Easton that is expected to arrive sometime in the fall or winter of 2022. No plot details were revealed about this upcoming series. Titan Publishing Director John, something I can't pronounce, commented on the new deal saying, "We are so excited to be working with Stonebot. We have a successful history with manga publishing, but this new partnership will bring the imprint to new levels." Stonebot's managing director Diego Barrosi also stated this partnership not only shares an ambitious commercial vision, but also a work philosophy that with the talented Titan team, more to come. See, this art here isn't bad. It's all the lazy motion lines. Like this, there's implied motion here. You don't need to put the motion lines. It's what I hate about manga is all the weird bonus lines to kind of cover up for the fact that they're too lazy to put a background in. These new manga announcements follow the announcement of a director's cut of Afro Samurai that arrives in July 2022, and the recent releases of an adaptation of BBC's Sherlock Holmes. Eldo Yushima's Ryuko Volume 1 and 2, Gamma Draconis, and Henkai Pan. I'm sure that means more to some of you than it will ever to me. Sound effects. Oh. So yeah, Kamen Rider is coming to Titan Comics. So that could be pretty good news for some of you. I don't know. But there's the link if you need it. I gave it up in JH. That sounds dirty. I don't know what that means. That sounds like sexy time. All right. And now the most joyous news of the day that I'm sure you've all waited for with bated breath. Batwoman is canceled after 3 seasons on the CW. It's from the Hollywood Reporter. Batwoman's time in Gotham has come to an end. The CW canceled the DC Comics drama after 3 seasons. Showrunner Carolyn Dries shared the news on social media Friday. She's got the sad news that Batwoman will not be seeing season 4. Dries wrote on Twitter, "I am bummed but full of gratitude. What an honor to make 51 episodes. You didn't even make syndication level, okay? Cancellation comes a month after Batwoman aired its 3rd season and now series finale on the network. It also comes as the CW's owners, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Paramount Global, are exploring a sale of the broadcaster, with local TV station giant Nexstar considered a possible buyer. This has led to speculation that the network would pare back its slate of scripted series. I think this would got canceled even if the CW wasn't for sale, because although it's cheap to make because their budget is trash, and it shows, they weren't getting eyes on it. And just churning out content is not always a successful technique. So I'm pretty sure some of my laundry videos had more viewers than this did. But the Discovery merger, they were obviously doing cuts in places. This show was probably going to get axed either way. So if you guys were watching this for the lulls, I'm sorry, you only have 51 episodes. And quite frankly, I think they should have canceled the show after the cute chick left, Ruby Rose. I think she was a much bigger draw for this than whatever woke mess actors they got to replace her. Although Bridget Regan was in it, she's still kind of hot. 2.5 should have been a failed pilot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if the show hadn't already been on, it would have been a failed pilot with the new lead. It was dumb. 2.5 seasons too long. You're not wrong. I'd bang Ruby Rose Frosted. I have no shame in saying that. She's tiny. She's got a thin body. I'm pretty sure she's got a thigh gap, which we all know is where love is made. So yeah, I think she's kind of cute. I don't know why. I can't explain it either, Frosted. Okay, don't judge me. Actually, I don't really give a shit if you judge me, because I'd plow her and I'd brag about it, and I'd probably show you pictures too. I hide them in my vacation slides. All those tattoos mean daddy issues. Exactly, which puts it right in my wheelhouse. All right, here's a rumor going around. This is from Bleeding Cool. Jason Todd to be a new Green Lantern for DC Comics. Because that's not fucking ridiculous. Jason Todd was the second Robin, created when Dick Grayson had become Nightwing in the new Teen Titans. It's a character appearing in American comic books. And we all know fucking if you don't know who Jason Todd is, read some fucking comic books. First appeared in Batman 357 in 1983, which also was one of the first appearances of Killer Croc, by the way. It goes for about $120. It was later revealed that he was orphaned and street delinquent with a troubled past and had a violent demeanor, whom Batman attempts to reform. He was killed off in 1988's A Death in the Family, which is a 4-part story that ran through the Batman books, only to be revived in 2005's Under the Red Hood, which reinvented him as a new incarnation of the multiple identity murderous villain, the Red Hood, which was originally the Joker origin, by the way. He was a thief that wore a red hood and swam through some chemicals. That was one of the first Joker origins. Since then, he has stayed as Red Hood, though with a more conciliatory relationship with Batman, and has led the Outlaws team. He is played by Curran Walters in the Titans TV series. Nobody gives a fuck about that show. Stupid. But it seems that from gossip reaching my ears that he may have a new role coming, and that's of Green Lantern. Green Hood? I have no idea. Not treat it as an amber traffic light for now, but I'm told to expect him to be a Green Lantern on a new parallel Earth. Oh, parallel Earth. Okay, they're probably talking about Earth 3. They've been doing a lot of stuff with Earth 3. There was that miniseries Crime Syndicate, and then they did War for Earth 3 as a miniseries a little bit ago, which I've got, but I haven't read it yet because I'm way behind on the Flash. And it crosses over with a Flash issue. And one that may be sticking around for a while. Currently, the Infinite Frontier, Flashpoint, Justice League Incarnate, Justice League Dark, Crisis books have been running a lot of multiverse stories, but we haven't had a kind of singular story that Marvel Comics has managed to create with the likes of Gwenpool, Spider-Gwen, blah, blah, blah. So they might be doing something like that. John Stewart, the Green Lantern of Earth and recent Emerald Knight, recently died in Justice League 75, but not before powers of the Green Lanterns were... I'm not spoiling that. There's some shenanigans going on in the Green Lantern book. So will he be a Green Lantern? That's a possibility. The new Dark Crisis storyline that is the summer event, in case you didn't see my review, for Justice League 75, which you should watch after the stream. And here's the link for that, because I'm a shameless whore who just got monetized. Was it in 21 Drum Street? No, that was Johnny Depp. But yeah, that would be a funny storyline, actually. But yeah, I think that this Dark Crisis story is gonna be fucking dumb. It's setting up to where they're replacing the main heroes with these new woke ones, and that looks like the direction they want to go. It's tie into the future state 5G nonsense. Wow, Frosted, that's a bit harsh. You're probably not wrong, but I'd check it out. No, you are a salesman with showmanship. Oh, thank you, Assassin. I appreciate that. Thank you, Keldrig. Jason Todd should have stayed dead. I agree. The Red Hood is the worst member of the Bat family. Yeah, it's lazy. Almost as lazy as making Kate Kane a lesbian. Who's also an albino for some reason. Kate Kane was a Golden Age character that was Batwoman, and she wore like this gaudy yellow outfit. It was really dumb. But she wasn't a lesbian. At least that character has some more development than what they did with Jason Todd. It was just lazy bringing him back. Kind of pathetic. So he might be a Green Lantern. I'm guessing that's going to show up in Dark Crisis. But I don't know why they'd make that character a Lantern. He doesn't exactly have the impulse control or depth of character to be a Green Lantern. It's one of my complaints about Guy Gardner, too. But, yeah, Jason Todd's a bad fit for that. But they're doing a lot of these weird switcheroos where they're trying to change people around. They're fucking with John Stewart. They're fucking with other ones. They're killing off Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman to raise up the Brazilian Wonder Woman, the Black Batman, and the gay Superman. So I don't know what they're thinking, but they are doubling down on the wokeness, and it's not working out for them. Their sales are way down. And a lot of that crap is just sitting on the shelf. But here's some interesting news from Cosmic Book. We kind of touched on this last time. Frank Miller and Dan DiDio are launching a comic book company. Frank Miller Presents. It's officially announced that Frank Miller and Dan DiDio are joining forces to launch their own independent comic book publishing company. Of course, Frank Miller is a legend in the comic industry, known for creating various iconic Batman titles, including The Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One, in addition to his work on Daredevil at Marvel, his indie series turned movie Sin City. What they don't mention is Holy Terror, because that's why he's getting canceled so much in the comic industry. He had a superhero fighting Islamic terrorists, which I actually liked that book. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought it had potential. Not his best work by far, but it was also during his dark days, shall we say. Dan DiDio is also a well-known comic veteran who fucked horribly over a DC. He was one of the worst things to happen to DC because he did New 52, and he had this obsession with linear timeline where they had to constantly age people up, and he hated the legacy characters, and he brought in a lot of the crap we're seeing now. And he got fired too, from what it looks like. He left. They say let go in this article, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he got fired. Details on the new venture include the company will be called Frank Miller Presents, or FMP, with Frank Miller acting as president and editor-in-chief, with, according to The Hollywood Reporter, the goal of creating and curating a line of comics that hope to capture Miller's distinct visual style while also working with a range of talent from comic veterans to rising artists. Dan DiDio is serving as publisher of Frank Miller Presents. That's actually not a bad role for him. If Frank Miller's being the editor and Dan DiDio's being the publisher, this could be a really good team up. With Celine Thomas as chief operating officer, who was also CEO of Frank Miller Inc., Miller's brand and official website. He's looking a little bit rough there. He kind of looks like Spock in a weird way. It's aiming to publish 2 to 4 comic book titles a year, with Miller returning to Sin City with a Western tale set in the city's past, titled Sin City 1858. Ronin Book 2 is also being published by Frank Miller Presents, which is a follow-up to the 6-issue miniseries that was originally published by DC Comics in 83 and 84, and focused on a Ronin reincarnated in a dystopic near-future New York City, a comic that showed off Miller's influences from manga and Franco-Belgian comics. Franco-Belgian? Belgian? Whatever. It also has a very Blade Runner kind of feel, like a proto-Blade Runner. It's an interesting work. It's definitely a rough work, but I liked it back in the day. I haven't read it in 20 years, but I think I have a copy of it somewhere, actually. In addition, 2 new original works are being published titled Pandora and Ancient Empires. Ancient Enemies. Ancient Empires was a collectible card game put out by the History Channel. Don't judge me. And the specifics in regards to what Miller is doing and the creative teams have yet to be announced. Investing in artists and the future of comics has always been one of my true passion and creative calling, Miller said in a statement. Dan, Celine, and I couldn't be more proud of launching Frank Miller Presents, which will serve as fertile ground for storytellers and new creations. Our focus for this publishing company is to cultivate a fellowship of artists and writers to mentor, collaborate, and push forward not only each other, but the art form as well. Comics will hit the stores and digital later this year. Frank has an incredible vision for this publishing company, which further expands on his commitment to storytelling and characters that connect people around the world, stated Celine Thomas. Now, if they keep Dan DiDio away from creative decisions and just let him be publisher, he's good at that. So I think this could be a really, really good team up. And as much as I don't like what Dan DiDio did at DC, he's not bad in a position like publisher where he handles the business side. I think he could do that really well. If Frank Miller is the editor-in-chief, I think this could work out really well. And we could see some really cool stuff. So I'm going to be on the lookout for these books, and I'm going to try and get them. Not just because I like Frank Miller's work, but I think they could find some really good talent. And I think Frank Miller could do that. And like I said, they're focusing on their own strengths. And I think that could work out really well. So could be something to watch for there. Theory is that they're replacing them because they don't want to share the profits with the creators' estates, since there's a chance of them regaining partial control of those characters. I think that's part of it, but I think the main thing is there, especially when Daniel Cherry was there, it was obvious there's a woke agenda there too. And a lot of they're not going to lose creative control of those characters. It's been well established through various lawsuits over the years that at most they'll have to pay a small stipend. But even then, it would be such a negligible amount for what those characters are worth. I mean, you make a Superman movie, you're talking big, big cash. They've tried replacing these characters before, and it's always flopped. So I think that may be a small part of it, but I think the larger thing is the agenda behind it. They want more diversity. They don't like the fact that most of these characters are white and straight, and they want to replace them with more there's no PC way of saying this. They want to replace them with pandering, shameless, creatively bankrupt garbage. They honestly seem to believe that will sell as a personality instead of the characters that have been built up for decades and have shown success. There have been thousands of comic book characters over the years that just flopped. Thousands of companies that have come and gone. You don't hear about Titanium. You don't hear about Defiant anymore. You barely ever hear about Valiant. You never hear about Lev Gleason. There have been tons of characters that have gone by the wayside because they're too close to being knockoffs, or they weren't compelling enough, or whatever the reason. They just don't work. And there have been some really good characters that have fallen by the wayside too. A lot of the Malibu stuff had a lot of potential. Unfortunately, Gerard Jones is tied to a lot of that. So that's going to be a problem if they ever try and revive that. The cross-gen stuff failed because they got too big too quick and had returnability, and it crushed them. Continuity comics, which we mentioned earlier with the Neal Adams story, he had some really cool characters in there, and they just didn't really catch on. They were too expensive because they were small press. Now it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper to do small press books and keep them competitive with the price point. Excuse me. And unfortunately, a lot of the potential that we see out there in the indie world is screwed over by the creators' ineptitude, laziness, or just lack of marketing. One of the most notable ones is, of course, Cyberfrog. It had the most attention drawn to it because Ethan Van Sciver exploded on the comics commentary scene. He had the potential to make an assload of money, and he made a couple $1,000,000 so far, but his books are continually late. I think almost all of his projects have been late. Rainbow the Brute's closing in on a year late. Cyberfrog 2's a year late, probably closer to 2 years now. Cyberfrog 1 was a year late. The action figures are late. There's that Snowman book that he's publishing. That's late. And there's no reason for any of that. He could have had a multi-million-dollar industry built up around that book. He could have farmed it out to other people and licensed it. But he had to get those books out to keep his core audience. Now you're seeing people like Tim Lim producing Kamen America, and he is producing books on time, delivering them on time. I got my Kamen America omnibus early, actually. So that's where the success is going to be found in the indie field, is people that can produce for reasonable prices, that could get the books out on time or ahead of time. Those are the people that are going to last. Unfortunately, that's still kind of limited because, like, Tim Lim's art style is not going to appeal to everyone. It's that American mega style, like Ben Dunn has, that doesn't really have that huge of an appeal. If they could get somebody with Van Sciver's talent that could produce on time, they would have something they could market. And unfortunately, we're just not seeing that. But it is a lot easier to be competitive. That's why I like books like American Mythology and Top Secret Press, and anything from Iconic I'll pick up because they deliver in a timely manner. And even if it's on like characters I've never heard of, I'll still pick it up. Like Napalm Brothers was one of the best books I picked up in a long time. And that was from a guy I'd never heard of before. And hopefully he'll keep doing books because he's got a very psychedelic, weird style. Not for everyone, but it's an interesting book. And I liked it quite a bit, and it was well worth the $10 I dropped. So, yeah. It's hard to sell comics since why they're always been like visual and story crack. Inject woke shiz like switching off crack to stream lima beans. Exactly, Peter. You have to keep the success. Like when you find out the formula that works, which for superhero books especially is action. There are other types of comics out there. There used to be romance comics, westerns, science fiction, all that stuff, horror. They all have a niche, but it's a niche. The big thing that sells in the West is superhero books. And maybe sci-fi, you could argue. Some horror, but the primary big sellers are action adventure books. And you have to have something that has action adventure. And what they're doing is recruiting writers that don't understand how action comics work. They don't understand adventure, and they try and turn them into Hallmark movies. Well, if you want to write your great American novel and make it into some boring Charlotte Bronte shit, you can go do that, but it's not going to be a big seller in the comics market. because that's not what it's built up as. That's not action adventure. And let's face it, the majority of people that read comics are young men. And unfortunately, they've forgotten that and not targeting those anymore. You have to target the 13 to 35 demographic. That's your key demographic for comic books and sequential art. Unfortunately, they've forgotten that, like I said, and they're not marketing to young people anymore. Most of the people that collect comics now, or buy them in general, are 35 to 50, and in some cases older. Most of the people I see at the comic shop now have gray hair. They're my age demographic. They're between 35 and 50. And most of them are actually older, skewing closer to 40 now. So 15 years ago, it was 35. And it's because they stopped making books that were aimed at young adults. This is children's literature, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. You can have adult material in there. Mouse is very much adult material. The Dark Knight Returns was written at high school level. So if you target that age demographic of like middle school to high school, you'll do way better, because you have to keep the price at a reasonable cost that kids can afford with spending money. And that's why I always keep saying they need to reprint old stuff for the dollar stores and sell them for $1 or $2 in like Dollar Trees, Dollar General, Family Dollar, those kind of stores, and market to that, because there's lots of those stores. The closest people that came to that, well, I was talking about Cyberfrog. There was also another group that had a lot of potential, which was Allegiance Arts. They had a deal with Walmart to put a bunch of comics in Walmart stores on display. You can still find them there. But the pandemic hit and they stopped releasing new books. They had 4 titles in Walmart. The Futurist, which was a little bit confusing but had really good art. Red Rooster, which was a superhero tale in the Golden Age. Bass Reeves, which is about the bounty hunter, or the U.S. Marshal Bass Reeves, who would go out and catch bad guys. Real character, a real person who was probably the basis for the Lone Ranger. He, as an old man, arrested his own son. Fascinating character. One of the first black U.S. Marshals, too. Real American hero. Fucking awesome guy. He could speak like 7 languages. He couldn't read either. But he would hang out with the Indian tribes, and he was accepted within the Indian tribes. That's why he was able to get a lot of people, because the Indians would help him. Like, oh yeah, we saw him go over there, and he was able to work with them and even help them like round up bad guys too. Real fascinating man. And then they had Norse Saga, which was a Norse story. All the books were actually pretty well done for what they were. They made the mistake of fucking up the production and screwing over the backers for their Red Rooster Indiegogo, because they used the money from that Indiegogo to fund putting all those comics in Walmart. They didn't tell anyone. And then it took like 2 years for them to get the trade paperback they promised everyone into their hands. And it looked like they were not going to even do anything, because they basically gave everybody a big middle finger. So they alienated their core supporters by not giving them their books. And then they fucked over putting the books out in Walmart stores. The most they got out were 3 issues. And they didn't even do that for all the titles, as I recall. So, yeah, they never finished any of the story arcs. They're releasing Norse Saga as a trade, and they had a great deal with Walmart that got blown completely, probably because of the pandemic. They couldn't get all their books published, but they didn't seem to go to other places, to other outlets that were open to publish or print the books. So they screwed that up, and that'll probably never get any more comics in a Walmart unless it's a Disney or Batman book, because there are Disney comics in Walmart. And I mentioned that before. It's Penny Tree doing reprints of European Mickey Mouse stories and like 1 or 2 American ones that were linked newspapers. They're really good. They're $1. I've seen them at Dollar Tree and Walmart. And they fly off the shelf at Dollar Tree, which is why Marvel is missing a golden opportunity there. Same with DC. If you want to sell your comic and you've got enough money to make the print run work, put your books in Dollar Tree. You'll sell way more. You won't make much money, if any, but you'll get it out there. Also, there have been some Batman comics at Walmart. I haven't seen any recently, but they did one called Night Watch that was pretty interesting. It was a flip book. Attention span of a Downsy goldfish. That's a good point, too. So it's a dying art form at the minute. Yeah, and it's not it's not natural death either. It was an unnatural disaster because they let these wokists come in and turn them into secular chick tracks. A lot of content vying for attention to kids made it available in the palm of their hand. Trying to sell paper and ink to them is going to be a serious uphill battle. Yeah. You have to appeal to the parents' sense of literacy, too. You want your kids to read. And we've gotten away from that in our culture, where we don't encourage kids to read. And that's one of the biggest problems I think we're having is kids have the attention span of gnats. Okay, only 2 more articles. I'll stop rambling about the problems I see with comic book distribution and stupidity. The long and short of it is that there would be more content out there, but they don't aim it toward kids. And the stuff that is aimed toward kids is all in comic shops, except for those Disney books, which, like I said, they fly off the shelf. I was able to get the first issues of, I think, 5 of the titles, because there's a DuckTales one too, but they're on like issue 5, and I've only ever seen issues 1, 3, and 5. The rest were sold out before I could get to them. Only to read explicit books about sex. Yeah, well, that's all that apparently is in school libraries now. Dragonlance and Spelljammer creators say they have no involvement with the new D&D products based on their works. I'm shocked, aren't you? I mean, look at this. Doesn't this scream adventure and slaying monsters? Or a prom? I don't know. They're going to have space prom. The recent announcement that Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss's Dragonlance novels and Jeff Grubb's Spelljammer campaign setting will be getting new adventures based in D&D current 5th edition rulebook has been undercut by both creators' respective revelations that they did not have any involvement in developing, nor were they even aware of the upcoming expansions. No, because Hasbro's woke, and they're like, fuck you, old people. We're going to make this awesome with proms and rap battles. The returns of Dragonlance and Spelljammer to the popular tabletop RPG were revealed by Wizards of the Coast during the April 21st D&D Direct presentation centered on the company's plans for 2022. According to the animated teaser narrated by the Expanse star, something I'm not going to try and pronounce, Dragonlance's reinstatement to D&D will come in the form of a new D&D adventure book, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, as well as a battle game, Warriors of Krynn, both due out sometime in late 2022. Meanwhile, seen in its own illustrated trailer, Spelljammer will be reintroduced via a 5e campaign setting named after its original second ed incarnation, Adventures in Space. Now, that art is shit. Look at that face. Originally conceived as an orthogonal way of traversing worlds from the traditional Great Wheel cosmology, at the time standing as one of the biggest expansions ever to D&D's multiverse, the new 5e version of Spelljammer Adventures in Space will retain this core concept. Excuse me a second. Sneeze. While providing players with everything a dungeon master needs to run adventures and campaigns set in the starlit realms of wild space and the Astral Sea, as well as new options for players who want to create characters at home in this fantastic setting. All right, now this looks like, okay, there's some crazy shit over here. There's a monster. There's a mind flare. Look at that dude. He's got a sword. There's a planet behind him. What's that all about? This chick's got a crossbow. And then you look at, I have a periscope. Ugh. Like, look at this. I mean, this is colorful. The dragon thing looks cool, but this dude looks really weak compared to this guy. This guy looks badass. Look at the definition of the muscles. He's got like armor on, and he's got his hand on his hip. Oh boy, I'm tough. Ugh. As news of Spelljammer's revival began to spread, Jeff Grubb, the writer who created the initial Spelljammer Adventures in Space 2E campaign setting for the original Gygax-led incarnation of TSR games in 1989, took to his personal Facebook page to tell players, yes, Wizards of the Coast is bringing the Spelljammer setting into 5e. No one talked to me about it. I'm as surprised as you are. The day after Grubb's post went live, it caught the attention of Weiss, the author who worked alongside Hickman in the 80s to fully realize the cohesive Dragonlance series from the original concept developed by him and his wife Laura. Regarding replying to Grubb, Weiss then similarly revealed that Wizards of the Coast is bringing Dragonlance gamebook, and they didn't talk to me or Tracy on that. I'm shocked. Weiss's news would eventually draw a response from Grubb, who returned to the conversation the next day to opine. So here's the thing. I'm pretty cool with people moving concepts that I worked on forward, but a little more irritated that Margaret doesn't get a heads up, given that she and Trace have new works they're putting together for the world. Me, I'm nostalgia. They're still in there pitching. Yeah, they have a trilogy of books coming out. And they couldn't even consult them. They created the entire fucking world. Wrote all the books around Dragonlance, and a bunch of ass clowns with no sense of history are going to come in and shit all over it. What if we make the Dragonlance into a sword? I put money they're going to do that. Thanks, Jeff. Weiss would ultimately respond, joking, at least now I have plausible deniability. Yeah, I don't blame you. I'd want it too. This is far from the first point of tension between Weiss, Hickman, and the Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, there was a lawsuit a few years ago. I just mentioned that. Moreover, the company itself was vilified by well-publicized allegations of misogyny and racist hiring and employment practices by and with respect to artists and employees unrelated to Dragonlance. The pair's lawsuit continued. Yeah, that lawsuit looked ugly. It got settled out of court later that year, so 2020, with Weiss herself eventually informing fans, I know some of you have that our lawsuit against WotC was dismissed. I can't say anything yet, but watch for exciting news in weeks to come. Yeah, I hope they got a big settlement because they got boned over pretty good. Almost a year later, the settlement would lead to the announcement from Weiss that she and Hickman would be publishing a new book in the Dragonlance series, Dragons of Deceit, released August 9th, 2022, introducing a new heroine into the classic world. So yeah, these guys had no idea they were even relaunching two of the old settings. Just shows how little regard Wizards of the Coast has for the legacy that they're trying to build on or milk. Thank you, Keever Dam. Think really good quality shit. Compelling page turner writing, meaningfully inspiring lessons, and super hot art. You might develop a cult following that eventually breaks out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's just not enough of the effort being put in. It's really sad. People are half-assing it. They just expect money. There's a strong sense of entitlement even in the indie books. Well, it's kicking my ass. All right, our final story is from Bleeding Cool. Marvel Comics getting later and later and later. Oh, I skipped a story, didn't I? Anyway, Penguin Random House, the exclusive distributor of Marvel Comics to the direct comic book stores, that's not exactly true. Issued the following note to comic book retailers the other day, saying, please be aware that Marvel is making measurable schedule changes to many comics and collections. Because yes, Marvel Comics schedules are late, really late. Things haven't been this bad since Steve McNiven was late on Civil War, and it delayed the entire Marvel publishing line. Lots of comic publishers have suffered scheduling issues of late, but Marvel Comics' dominant presence in the market means their delays have a greater impact. And it's no more visible than the X-Men schedule printed in the back of each of the Krakoan comics, which show how many changes have come since the comic was published. Basically, it's the latest work of Krakoan fiction. Yeah, these dates are all fucking wrong. A scarcity of paper in the market and printing presses available was followed by a Canadian train strike that followed the trucker protest, which had an impact. However, with the demand for cardboard boxes, which caused a lot of the scarcity declining again, paper may be a little more available in months to come. But here are some of the bigger delays hitting Marvel titles right now, as detailed by distributor Penguin Random House. These are not final dates, of course, but you get the scale of the issue right now. This week should have seen Venom Lethal Protector 2, Wolverine Patch number 2, Immortal X-Men 2, and X-Men Red 2. But they've been delayed until the 18th of May, with the subsequent issues knocked on further into subsequent months, with Spider-Gwen, Gweniverse 3 also meant to be out, has been delayed even later until the 15th of June. That's how you lose an audience, guys. People forget your book exists. The already a year delayed Predator number 1, now clear of legal issues, is delayed from the 6th of July to 3rd of August. Yeah, they had pushed that back a year because of the legal nonsense. It's going to be garbage anyway because it's Marvel. Deadpool Bad Blood, which is a reprint comic, is delayed from May 18th to the 31st of August, with previous issues slipping down the schedule. Same with Hulk 9, delayed from July 13th to August 17th. Star Wars 26 is delayed from July 6th to August 17th. And the date for Star Wars Halcyon Legacy 5 delayed from June 8th to, as well as Tales of Suspense 57 Facsimile Edition, which I actually want to read that, so that pisses me off. Amazing Spider-Man relaunch is sliding down the schedules. The first issue was 1 week late. Second issue should have been out today and is now delayed until May 25th, as of right now. Spider-Man number 7 is delayed from July 6th to August 3rd. Number 8 from July 27th to August 17th. There's more delays. We're not going to read them all. Odds are there are even more delays are going to hit the schedule according to Penguin Random House. Ghost Rider 5 has been delayed. Ghost Rider 6 equally. Thunderbolt's going to be delayed. Avengers Forever. Exterminators, they're relaunching that for some. It was a mini series, for God's sake. Spider-Man Exodus is also being delayed. There's plenty more, but that gives you an idea. Penguin Random House has a lot of pull too, and if they're delayed, this is going to be bad. The creator's making the books late, or the company. It's really neither. It's Knights of Old. It's actually the printing companies. They don't have enough paper, because there was a cardboard shortage originally, and there was a lot of shipping issues. So for some of the smaller companies, they were getting their books printed in China, and because of all the lockdowns in China and California, they couldn't get anything in. And because of the supply chain issues where all the ships were docked off the California coast for way too long, they couldn't even get them in when they had them out floating at sea. I actually had in the article, did I close that? About the shipping delays. Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is actually related. I skipped this one. But yeah, it's since Marvel Comics cut their books down to only 20 pages of story instead of 26, they had knocked it down to like 24, maybe 22. Now it's down to 20. So they're basically pamphlets. They're using less paper, and they still can't get them published. And a lot of this stuff is coming from Canada. There's a big printer, forget the name of it off the top of my head, where DC and Marvel have been getting their stuff printed, and it's in Canada. So it's not even coming from overseas. The indie stuff comes from overseas. Anybody using Print Ninja is getting their stuff printed in China. So it's got to come from the slow boats. But the trucker strike that we saw in Canada and the rail strike were the big problems there. Now there's a paper shortage still. So that's starting to loosen up a little bit because they're picking up logging again out west that was shut down due to the coup. So it's a whole litany of things going on. It's kind of the perfect storm due to all the lockdowns. But ICV2 is talking about the supply chain challenges from new China lockdowns could be worse yet. China's locking down a lot of stuff, including their agricultural areas, which is going to cause a massive wheat crisis this fall from the sound of it, because Ukraine, which is breadbasket of Europe, formerly Soviet Union, and Russia are both producing way less this year because of their war. And China's got these massive lockdowns, and fertilizer prices have skyrocketed. So it's not just supply chain for goods and services, it's also for food. Shipping delays, port congestion promise to worsen the situation through the summer. The wave of lockdowns that currently affect roughly 25% of China's population, per the New York Times, will have supply chain impacts beyond anything experienced to date, according to Chain Store Age. That's an industry website that handles like supply chain stuff. Not only have the lockdowns specifically in Shanghai, China's largest city and a major port, slowed manufacturing and shipping out of China. Once lockdowns end, there will be a rush to ship products to catch up, leading to congestion at U.S. ports again, or still, if you look closely at it. These impacts will lead to significant delays and shortages on imports from China in the early summer through fall, the peak shipping season. That's probably going to affect Christmas time too, because a lot of that stuff gets shipped over in like August and September. Compounding concerns is the looming threat of labor trouble at West Coast ports. The contract for the International Longshoremen Warehouse Union expires July 1st, which could lead to work slowdowns or worse as negotiations proceed. There's rumors of walkouts if they don't get massive pay bumps. Although few had predicted substantial improvement in supply chain issues this year, the outlook is now considerably more troubled, with the full impact of Omicron outbreak in China still taking shape. Shanghai is on massive lockdown. They're having people like starving to death in buildings. Seriously, go check it out. It's horrific. So this could be a real problem because not only are they not having people at their largest port shipping stuff out, we're having congestion at our ports. The longshoremen might walk, and it's going to get ugly. It's a perfectly crafted storm. Exactly. Shanghai is partly why I took off work. Oh, damn. Sorry to hear it, Keever. Best of luck on that one. Yeah, they're literally locking people in buildings and arresting them. There's some crazy video. Look up the Shanghai stuff. It's pretty fucking nuts. But yeah, it looks like a lot of stuff. It's not just comic books, but that's obviously this is a trade website. ICV2 is a trade website for gaming and comics. Is it a new variant or just hospitals full? They have a zero tolerance policy in China. This is kind of touching on politics, but they have a zero tolerance policy. So until there's zero COVID cases, they lock down the city to avoid spread. It's still the Omicron variant, but they're just locking people in their houses and shutting everything down. And you can only go out for groceries. I think it's once every 2 weeks for like an hour, and you have to be on your schedule. And they're just locking people in the houses. Anybody that they see out in the street, they arrest if they don't have their paperwork in compliance with the schedule. And there's some pretty crazy footage coming out of there. Took the next few Thursdays and Fridays off. Ooh, well, I hope that works out for you, Keever. It's fun when you want to take time off, but that gets old fast. They got furloughed about a week ago, and they weren't even told till the last minute, so no time for them to prepare. I'm not surprised. Anybody that's working in any industry that might get shut down should be banking money. Save some cash aside. This entire situation globally should tell people to prepare more and prepare in advance for a crisis, because you never know. And watching the Shanghai footage, I went out and bought more canned food because fuck it. I'd rather have a little bit of extra on hand and not need it than have another stupid fucking lockdown and not have anything on hand. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on over there in Shanghai, but none of it looks good. There's some crazy video coming out of there. But since there was a couple cases, they shut all of Shanghai down, which that's insane to me. Lawway86 did a video about his thoughts on China, why China's doing that. Yeah, I like him for his coverage. Him and China Unscripted and China Uncensored. They do a lot of really good coverage. Lawway lived over there. Him and the Serpenta. Hard to have money when it buys less than 6 months. Yeah, that's why you should buy it now, because your money's getting more worthless by the day. I'm quitting. I don't give a shit. I don't blame you. I'm sick of the mask thing. Might move away this year anyway. Yeah, I don't blame you. I have to move in a few months, not by choice. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I live in a relatively free state too, so our lockdowns here in Ohio weren't as bad as most places, and it's worked out pretty well. Our economy is relatively stable compared to a lot of places, but man, even that, I know a lot of people that lost their jobs and they were completely flat-footed. A couple people lost their houses. One of my friends is getting divorced because his wife's a fucking nutcase, and he finally realized it when he had to be trapped with her for a year. And she lost her job too. It's been rough, man. And you know, if you're trying to produce a product like a comic book or a board game or something, you're going to end up having to buy from China, most likely, or it's going to be very expensive. But the comics are actually fairly cheap to do in Canada. But again, these supply chain things are going to screw you over, so you have to plan around that. Just plan for delays. So yeah, it's rough out there, and people need to be a little more cognizant of preparing for bad times. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon with what looks like stagflation coming. But I'm not going to get too political on this channel. But that's a rant for a different time and a different channel that I get into a lot. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of delays with the comics, and stuff's not showing up that's been scheduled to show up. And I don't know. There's a lot of good indie stuff that isn't available, and that sucks because a lot of it is really good. Really like American Mythology, Top Secret Press, Xenoscope have been doing some amazing stuff. There's even some decent stuff from Source Point and Black Box and a couple of the other tiny press ones. Aftershock's got a few good books. So yeah, just be on the lookout for some good indie stuff because the big two have been sucking real donkey wang. They had to get a new job and move because landlords wanted to sell the house in the crazy market. Wow. It's a good time to sell right now. In 6 months, I don't think it's going to be. So I'm sorry you had to do that, but it's probably in their best interest to do it. Yeah, it's the world's really messed up right now, and people need to pay more attention to what's going on around them because this stuff can really screw you over. If you work retail, you might lose your job because they can't bring anything in, and they're going to shut stores down. And a lot of stuff around me has gone out of business. There's a really good restaurant I used to go to a block away from me, fucking closed up forever. They just moved all the furniture out the other day. It had been shut down for about 6 months because they couldn't get any food in because there was such a supply shortage of beef and pork and chicken. They could get beef, but they couldn't get chicken, which was their best seller, and pork, which was their second best seller. And, well, the second biggest producer of pork in the U.S. was bought by China, or a Chinese company that has ties to the Chinese Communist Party. So nothing shady going on there. We need more domestic production. Yeah, absolutely we do. And this should be a wake-up call to that. But, you know, there's a lot of things politically that would have to change for that to happen. And I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. Nobody has the political will to do that. But that's, again, a rant for another time and another channel. So comics and games are going to be delayed. Same with miniatures. If you're really looking forward to some board game, I would plan on it being 4 or 5 extra months before you get it. I don't think we're going to see a lot of the stuff showing up on time, unless it's already in the country. It's going to be late. And if you live in a place with like even more supply chain issues, like in Europe where you have to cross lots of borders, it's probably going to be even longer. How is that even legal? Pfft, dude, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I wonder about. So I don't know what to tell you, man. It's a pretty screwed up world we live in. But that's going to do it for this one. I'm going to get on a politics rant otherwise, and that is absolutely not appropriate here. Thank you so much for coming out today, and thank you very, very much for the donations. You guys are awesome. It's greatly appreciated. And if you're watching this after the stream ends, like I said before, you can donate then. Just click on the link, and it'll let you donate, and I'll read out the donation later. But a new video did come out at midnight, right before I went live. So here's the link to that if you want to check it out. And I'll drop that Justice League one again. I will, like I said before, I will be putting a Patreon video up probably what's technically Saturday now. So later today or early Sunday. I'm going to try and finish processing that one when I'm off here, unless Rancid Monkey's going live. In which case, that should be up within 24 hours. So, and I should have some more patron stuff coming around in the next week or two as well. And there'll be a new video every day, should be the entire week next week. So thank you guys for everything. Oh, he's live now. I'll jump over there in a few minutes then. Thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for the donations. And hopefully we will see you on the next one.